Hello and welcome to episode 190 of the Happy Hearthstone, the longest running Hearthstone podcast in the history of space and time and cards. I'm your host, Andrew Brown. You can tell I've got my voice back. Well, it's not because I've been trying to compete with all these dragons flying around everywhere, because I just realized I needed to be quiet. I need to let them really have the spotlight. Steve, has it felt good to be in the presence of greatness like this?
I mean, in your presence, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
the dragon.
Come on, man. We got the queens, we got the kings.
Keep my continued employment going somehow, right? Like,
that's not through flattery, I promise you.
but yes, it's the air is a little bit thin, and there are a lot of scary dragons, but I think we can make it through. I think we can navigate this minefield and ram our way to victory.
Well,
or at least ram our way through 140 cards, one or the other.
It probably would have been smart of us to at least like enlist a dragon or two to ride upon, because it seems like all the explorers got theirs, all the League of Evil got theirs, and we're just kind of tiddlywinks here on the ground. That's not really fair.
Yeah, I think we should have planned better, but there's a lot of cards to review and a lot of news to talk about, so we didn't really have time to think about our dragon consorts as much.
Our prep was,
so we'll have to put that on our list for the next time.
Prep did get nerfed a while back, but you'd think we'd be in line with that. Steve, it's so good to have you back on the show, man. It's been a while. It's our normal cadence, obviously, having you on for every review episode. But it's always a pleasure. And actually, something big happened between these two episodes now. We actually got to meet at BlizzCon, and that was awesome.
Yeah. We got to meet. We got to go to Blizzard HQ thanks to Josh Augustine, our predecessor, and Scott Lentz as well. Is Lentz? Is it
Lance? Scott Lance.
Lance. I terrible with names, but yeah. So that was a blast. I got to take the kids too, and they got to. Like I ended up they got more of my money because I ended up buying StarCraft Remastered and cartooned after my oldest daughter saw it in the car. But yeah. But that was a blast, and we got to hang out. We got to sit in the tavern at the front of the tavern, like spitting distance from Ben Thompson.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Was announcing the new set, and that was amazing. And like, I'm still coming down from the high of BlizzCon, honestly. Like, it was the first time I got to go, and it was just an absolutely amazing experience. I'm really glad I was able to make it happen.
Yeah,
and I'm glad that you were able to make it as well, because we didn't think that you were going to be able to do it at first.
No, yeah.
And we were able to make that happen and get together, and yeah, it was amazing. And then we promptly forgot about this set for about 3 weeks because Battlegrounds came out. So then all of a sudden they started reveals last week, like, oh yeah, there's a new set coming out. We need to start doing a spreadsheet.
And goodness,
so here we are.
And goodness, is this a set, man? We'll retrospect it once we get to the end, but I'm already feeling it. Like we got a few more 4s and 5s coming out the gates than we usually do, I think.
It's feeling a little bit Gadgetzan in here. I'll say that much.
Gadgetzan or Kobolds? I feel like we're under the air. So
it's feeling like Mean Streets of Kobolds is what it's feeling like. So yeah.
Well, no matter what your preference is, we are really excited to share all of our thoughts. Today we'll be covering the League of Evil classes as well as the neutral legendaries. Should be a lot of fun. Steve, I'm going to spare you actually from introducing yourself because you do this every single time that you're on here. If you want to hear more about Steve's life and background, you can listen to one of the other review episodes. But the long and short of it is he's been a friend since before I started hosting the Happy Hearthstone. And now he hosts a show called Off Curve. He does some awesome dashboard reports for the Masters Tour qualifiers events, and we'll see what other events for the future you might be covering because we don't know what's coming down the pipeline. But yeah, man, so thrilled to have you. And we're going to talk about the news because, like you mentioned, we actually have a ton of news. I feel like we could do an entire episode. So we are going to take the fastest approach possible to blitz through these so we can get to the bulk of the show, really while you're here, which is the Descent of Dragons review. So the patch actually dropped just recently. On December 5th, this is patch 16.0 to prep for Descent of Dragons. And Descent of Dragons is out December 10th. So as this episode is airing, if you're listening to this live on your podcast feed, it is out probably. And what's really exciting is that with the release of Descent of Dragons, we've got Galakron in 5 different classes, the League of Evil classes we'll be covering today. Just by logging in, you will get all 5 copies absolutely free. This is the most free insane legendaries that we've had right out the gates. And honestly, it's really exciting because each of these are definitely a build around mechanic. They allow each class to do something. Actually, I guess for some of them it's different from what they've had, and others it feels like it's a continuation of things of sorts.
Yeah, and this is like the first time they've done something like this since like Cthulhu.
Right.
Like
right.
we've had, you get login, you get a free legendary, you get a free legendary of this certain class, but never have we all gotten the same card and gotten build around cards to support it. And Cthulhu, for better or worse, was something that really gave a lot of people when we had this, because I know that a lot of your listeners may not have been playing all that. I mean, that was a long time ago now.
Mm-hmm.
That was like 4 years ago.
Right.
That Whispers of the Old Gods came out. And that was a big deal at the time because like they just rotated out a whole bunch of cards out of standard because we got our first standard rotation. And then Cthulhu was like, this is your starter set. Like you're coming in, this is your starter thing. You're going to get Cthulhu. You're going to get a couple of support cards for Cthulhu. And then you have a way to start building a deck. And that's going to be the same thing for this, except you're getting all 5 of those. And you're also getting Shield. I think it's Shield of Galakron.
Shield of Galakron. Yep.
That you also get, which is one of the invoke cards that will activate it. So it's really cool that they're kind of coming back around to that kind of an event. And I really like the idea. Like, the first one of these that we did was Ungoro, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was when they first did the quest, and a lot of people were upset because you needed the quest to build around and they weren't giving them out. And now they kind of have learned that lesson. A lot of this year really has been about them kind of learning from past mistakes and improving the game, accordingly. And this is no different. And it's a really refreshing, new development with this new set.
I'm guessing that if you're listening to this, you're planning on playing in the first week of Descent of Dragons release. But if you have any friends who maybe play the game every now and then, you'll have to log in within the first 90 days of launch. So that would be December, January, and February. And like Steve said, you get those 5 Galakrons, so you get the 2 copies of Shield of Galakron, and you'll get 3 packs right out the gates as well. So, and they also teased out a legendary quest chain to get some more gold and even more packs, so that's all great. There was also a small but not small announcement here. We've heard very little about the solo adventure that'll be out in January. They gave it a title, though, now. It's called Galakron's Awakening. And they also announced that when you're playing, you're going to be collecting 35 new cards. So this is very similar to adventures from the past, like One Night in Karazhan or Curse of Naxxramas, where you would unlock cards as you played. And it's very clear. These are brand new cards that are not available in the Descent of Dragons set. So I know, Steve, we were talking beforehand, and I saw you on social media. You got some thoughts on this. And by the way, you got a full podcast. So you might have to just take a whole episode to talk about this one, I think.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief here. I will almost certainly be talking about this in more detail on Off Curve. So if you're interested, you can go to offcurve.com and or search for Off Curve and wherever you're listening to this podcast and go subscribe to that next episode. But the long and the short of it is I like them trying new things, and I'm excited they're trying new things, but I'm also very nervous about them releasing a small set of cards mid-cycle, because we've done that twice now, and not even going back to the original adventures, we've done that. And basically every time that they've done that, they've had to overshoot on the power level in order to make those cards have an impact and affect the meta. And I'm hoping that they've learned from the buffs from the mechs and the evolve meta that we just left with the wild cards. But I'm also a little bit nervous that we're only going to have like a month with the meta as designed with Descent of Dragons. It looks awesome before we're going to be bringing in these new cards that could affect it. But I'll talk about this in much more detail on Off Curve. But it is, and the other thing that we haven't heard yet is, are we just getting those cards, or I assume that you're going to get them when you buy Wings of the solo adventure, the solo player, the way that we did with the old school adventures way back when.
Yeah.
Like it used to be that you would only get those cards when you bought one of those Wings with gold or money. And so that I assume that that's going to be the same thing. So prepare for that, and you may want to budget an extra. I don't know what $20 or $25. I don't know how much it's going to be. I guess the other solo player has been $15, so maybe it'll be that too. But make sure to budget for that, either with gold or with money, between now and the end of January.
Well, the solo adventures this year have been $19.99 in US each.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I hope it stays in line with that. It will be interesting. What's funny, and I didn't think about this until you were talking, but I always approach now that we've done several sets on this show, I always approach the last set of the year thinking, especially for the all the cards from the previous standard year, the year of the Raven, this is the last chance that some of those cards have. But with 35 new cards before a standard rotation, there's one more chance for me to make my Totem Cruncher deck, and we'll see if if that happens. Actually, I think Totem Cruncher was this year, but yeah, that'll be interesting. So definitely check out Off Curve in your podcast feed. The Hearthstone Battlegrounds got an update. I don't know if you guys have heard of this new mode. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I can't stop playing it. Honestly, I personally am really excited about Descent of Dragons, so I feel like I'm going to want to go all in on that, but I know a lot of people are feeling dual-minded. And honestly, these new updates that they keep rolling out are no small part. We could spend the whole episode talking about just this, but I'll leave that to my friends in the Bob's Tavern podcast to go over with you. But I will say we've got 3 new heroes that have rotated in. Edwin Van Cleef, whose hero power costs 1 and gives a minion +1/+1 for each minion you've bought this turn. We got Sylvanas Windrunner. Her hero power costs 0. Remove a friendly minion to give adjacent minions +1/+1. She's the only one I've gotten to play with so far, and I won, not because of her, but because King Bagurgle is insane. Especially when you get Bran and Gentle Megasaurs, and yeah, it gets nuts. And then Archvillain Rafam is the third one. His hero power costs 1. Next combat, add a plain copy of the first minion you kill to your hand, which is pretty interesting. So we've got Patches, Bartendatron, Pyramid, Professor Putricide, and Trade Prince Gallywix rotating out. And Maleficent, Manastorm, and Lick Bazial are back in. Maleficent's hero power now only gives mechs in Bob's Tavern +1 attack. Lick Bazial only costs you 2 health instead of 3 in order to add a gold coin to your hand. The 2 new minions, King Bagurgle I mentioned, is a tier 5 Murloc, 6 attack, 3 health, Battlecry, and Death Rattle. Give your other Murlocs +2/+2. And Floating Watcher is a tier 3 demon, 4/4. Whenever your hero takes damage on your turn, gain +2/+2. So there's also a ton of balance changes. Lightfang Enforcer, Patchwork, AFK, Great Akazamzarak. Advanced stats are now in there, so if you've pre-ordered or if you've opened 10 Descent of Dragons card packs, you'll get to see, I think, like, what was the craziest one in here? There was something like the most damage you've done in a turn. Mine was like 240, and I was thinking to myself, how in the world did I even? Maybe I read it wrong. I don't know, but it's fun to see that stuff. Pretty cool. Any one thing you wanna throw a shout out at here for Battleground, Steve?
I mean, I think it's good that they're just kind of iterating on this regularly, and that they're paying attention to what the to what the meta is and keeping up with this. I don't know what it's going to be like post-release, but I would assume we're going to get these kinds of things every 2 weeks. And I still enjoy Battlegrounds, so I imagine I'm going to be playing a lot less of that now that Evolve is out and these new cards are in. So
I would certainly agree. It'll be great even if I just need to blow off some steam. I know I've always thought I'd never liked leaving the ladder to go play something else but knew it was important. Now I can go play some Battlegrounds. At least it's a different experience over there. So that'll be great. New in-game shop. The shop is being redesigned to improve a lot. I actually heard rumors of this a long time ago, and so this is really exciting. I haven't gotten to see it yet, but December 9th and 10th. So as this episode has gone live, it should be live. If you're listening to this beforehand from being a patron or joining us on Twitch, we'll see it soon. So you'll be able to find bundles, alternate heroes card packs, and now you're going to be able to buy wild card packs using gold, which is a big deal for newcomers, so that they can grab some packs of sets of old. And you can go back and listen to the Happy Hearthstone, and we have no clue what we're doing in those episodes.
Oh yeah. Oh, those cards. Oh gosh, those cards are in Wild now. Good Lord. We've been doing this a long time.
Oh yeah, no, we have. Yeah, you're the mammoth is. Rejoice, my EU brethren. Tyrande is finally here. So again, December 10th, it should be today as this episode's releasing. You can go to the new in-game shop and check it out, and you will get Tyrande for free along with her card back. And Steve, as a priest main, I know your thoughts on Tyrande are pretty extreme, right?
Tyrande is bae. Tyrande, I have all of the priests portraits, and I have not changed from Tyrande since the day that I got her.
There you go.
And I am just very excited to welcome all of you priest mains in training who will be maining the Tyrande portrait. And you can feel free to come by my stream, and I will teach you how to priest.
That's pretty
and
sweet.
you will love it, and welcome to the fold. So
very good. They also announced that Sylvanas Windrunner is going to be an alternate hunter hero. This got leaked by RDU on his stream. Did you see the footage of that?
I didn't, but I saw the tweets of it, and it's just like, yeah, okay, good job.
It was pretty hysterical. He was just tinkering around in the collection screen, and he pulls it up, and he's just staring at it with this confused look. He doesn't say a word. He goes out of it, and then he says something like, "Huh." And that was it. So $9.99. She's going to be available for a limited time, so we don't know how long. It is a really cool portrait, so I'm pretty likely to snap this up. And they also announced that they are going to be rotating alternate heroes. So if you're listening before December 10th, heads up, Magni, Medivh, and Illyria are leaving soon. So they've had that $6.99 sale going on for a while, so you can pick those up. We've got Doom in the Tomb, wild cards gone, and no one was upset about that. And then we also had some news prior that Winter Veil is coming up. So you're going to be able to get your gingerbread card back if you don't have that yet, starting on December 11th, along with Happy Feast of Winter Veil and all those fun emotes. And the big news from that actually was that they're going to also have a Winter Veil Wonder Bundle, which for $24.99 in the US, you'll get 6 packs of every set that's legal standard other than Descent of Dragons. And so that's Witchwood, Boomsday, Rosticon, Rise of Shadows, and Savers of Uldum. Plus, you'll get the new Dame Hazelbark Druid hero and card back, which has been inducing nightmares since we've seen it. I honestly think it's a really cool hero, so I'm excited to get this and try that out.
There was something I saw someone posted in my Discord. There was a discussion on Reddit. Maybe it wasn't my Discord. Maybe it was the Coincancy Discord. I don't remember. Where apparently they went back and forth on this portrait a lot.
Oh, because, I read about this.
Yeah, apparently it used to be a lot sexier, and then some of the people in the art department pointed out that it looked a lot like the artist's wife, and right. That was a little bit awkward. So it kind of went between like matronly grandmother and sexy tree lady, and either of those is kind of terrifying.
Yeah,
I'm pretty much a sucker for hero portraits. I think this is one I might pass on, though.
Yeah, the Sur Anoyo was actually the first that I passed on, but this one I'm craving. We'll see.
I'm at the point with Druid and Elise where I've been with Priest and Tyrande. So
that's fair.
This is not enough to push me off of Elise.
That's totally fair. The arena draft pool has been updated. Blackrock Mountain is a part of it. So that's all you need to know, really, because that with Descent of Dragons is going to be fun. And then some really big announcements for bug fixes under this. They have made a change to the Echo mechanic so that copies of cards with the Echo keyword can no longer cost less than 1 mana. This is massive, massive, massive for all my wild brethren and friends. Because Snip Snap Warlock has been like just absurdly powerful over there. Now this effectively kills it. It might still exist. It's not going to be anywhere near the oppressive nature that it was before.
Well, you can't go infinite with it. That's the thing,
right?
Like that was, and if you don't play Wild, the idea was you would stick a mech, and then any mech, it didn't really matter, and then you would play.
Summoning Portal?
No, it's Mech Warper.
Oh, Mech Warper, that's right.
And I think two or three Mech Warpers, or it might be Glinda with Mech Warper. I don't know exactly what the combo was.
It was a Summoning Portal and a Mech Warper because
a Summoning Portal and a Mech Warper because the Mech Warper because the Summoning Portal reduces it to 1. The Mech Warper is what would reduce it further to 0.
Yeah.
And then you just play as many Snip Snaps as your APM allows, and then you just hit your opponent in the face for 40.
Pretty insane.
And this is something that the WoW community has been up in arms, and justifiably so, by the way,
right.
for pretty much the better part of Savers of Uldum. So it's actually going to make Wild a playable format now.
Mhm.
I might actually spend the next couple, because I'm at rank 5 now, or at rank 4 actually. I might actually spend a couple days just kind of trying to rank up in Wild and see what that's like,
Nice.
because I haven't played Wild at all since that's been a thing.
Well, that's a good choice. The other cards that this affects are Glinda Crowskin and Sound the Bells, so no infinite combo in single player anymore. This is why you play the single player content as it releases, because I have memories of pretty much every solo adventure, especially the old ones, of beating bosses with glitches. And it's good. It's just good to get in on that. So your golden snip snap you got for free, you will not get a full dust refund on because that was free. But if you've crafted a normal one, or if you've got Glinda Crowskin or Sound the Bells in either, you'll get a full dust refund on that. So that's a fantastic change. Thank you for caring about Wild, Hearthstone team.
And as usual, I mean, we don't. I don't know. I'm not usually on your show. I'm usually talking about this on my show. If you're thinking about should I dust this, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Because you will get this dust now if you decide that you want to recraft it. You just keep the dust in your account. But if you wait, you might forget about it. And then if you decide that you don't want to after waiting 2 weeks and seeing it's not seeing any play, you've lost that opportunity. So go ahead and dust it. Just don't spend the dust. And then if you find in a couple weeks that you need to recraft it, no harm, no foul. If not, then enjoy your free legendary if you happen to have a Glinda skin.
There you go. Lots of small improvements to Zephyrus, battleground stuff. That's actually most of it. So we got through the news there. Any final thoughts on that, Steve?
I'm just really happy that they're going to be selling packs of wild cards in the shop again with gold.
Yeah, I think
because there's a lot of it's prohibitively expensive right now for somebody to get into Wild.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being able to use that as a gold sink, especially for, someone like you or I who probably has a lot of those cards, but there's still a fair amount of Goblins versus Gnomes that I'm missing. And like, I've gotten to the point where I get enough between the 100-pack pre-order and the, like, whatever gold I've been saving up for the last 3 months. I'm probably not going to need to open a lot more packs of the new set, but I might want to go and put some of that gold towards filling up some of those gaps in like GVG or the Grand Tournament that I'm missing.
Sure. That's great. Okay. Well, as we transition from that, I realized that I was not holding to my show notes, and I completely missed one of the main things that we do on this show, Steve.
Yes.
We got to hit it fast and hard, but tell me why you're happy, because this wouldn't be an episode of the Happy Hearthstone without it.
So I have been investing in my streaming setup over the last, pretty much since I got back from BlizzCon, I've been really like reinvigorated.
Okay.
And so I bought a Windows PC for the first time in about over a decade.
Wow.
And I've been a Mac only person for over 10 years. And I finally bought a Windows desktop, mainly for streaming, and then for playing a couple games that I couldn't play, like Legends of Runeterra when that beta came out, stuff like that. And I've been kind of incrementally building on this setup and trying to get it this is turning into my little man cave in here. And I was looking at some keyboards over Black Friday, and my wife noticed me doing that and decided to get me an early Hanukkah gift, which is this really super fancy like mechanical keyboard. I'll try to hold it up for the webcam. It is incredibly fancy. It's got pretty. It does this thing that I imagine I hear is like normal, but it's not. It's new to me. Where you type on the keys and the colors change underneath your fingers, and it's really clicky and loud, and it feels really, really good when I'm playing Diablo and nuking demons. So
I'm sure.
I got a lot of practice with it last night, typing up all of these notes for the spreadsheet. So that's contributed to the work I've been doing for this show. But I'm really like enjoying this streaming setup and investing in my stream and kind of improving the quality of that. So it's been really great. I've just been really super energized since coming back from BlizzCon. So
good. I'm so glad to hear that, man.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm finally getting over this cold, so you might hear a little bit of something, but I don't think I went into detail. Normally, I've got a pretty nice range on my voice. I like to be animated and do stuff. Well, my vocal range shrunk so much, and then it all got displaced to a lower octave. So everyone was like, "Oh man, with the lower voice, you can." Sound cool and stuff. Well, the problem is I can't inflect at all. So I've got the range now, which is what I wanted. And it just feels nice to be able to talk and to talk with my voice. So and do stuff like that. So that's good. I also actually, I was telling you before we started, Steve, I found a mic at my work. I forgot that I actually had a spare Yeti at work that literally never gets used. So I was like, oh, perfect. I can at least borrow this in the meantime while I'm hunting down a new one. So for those of you who don't know, my mic busted right before recording an episode a few weeks ago. So really thankful I was able to get something professional in a pinch, and it was super easy because it was literally right next to my desk. So that was just the podcast fairies were watching out for me or something like that. So
your podcast fairy godmother was
exactly
was keeping an eye out for you.
So, and I'm obviously excited about Descent of Dragons. We've got so many cards to talk about. Today, we're going to be covering the League of Evil and the neutral legendaries. To give you a quick idea of what to expect here, we wait until all cards are revealed because we feel like that gives us the best possible chance at getting a handle on these cards. Steve and I have been doing this now. This will be our 9th set that we've done together. So we've, although I said it many times that I feel like our last one was one of our worst, unfortunately. So hopefully we're still learning, and I love that it's a consistent learning process, you know?
I mean, I think that I did a decent self-flagellation on my show a couple of weeks ago.
Your rearview mirror episodes are always good, and they always help me get better. And yes, you did.
Yeah, and I think we realized where we went wrong. Yeah. So I think this is. I don't know if we're overcorrecting here because I feel like. So I guess we should probably just talk about the set in general because
sure.
we kind of alluded to the power level, and I think that a lot of these cards are powerful, but they're not necessarily powerful in a way that's going to slot into a lot of existing decks for the most part, which is different than, say, like Mean Streets of Gadget. Well, Mean Streets of Gadgetan really did just come up with a whole bunch of new decks that outclassed everything, and that's kind of a little bit of the concern. Like Kobolds and Catacombs were more like a lot of the decks got better, and that was and then those decks stayed better until like the next year when they rotated out. So I don't know if this is more of a Mean Streets. I don't think it's quite as powerful as Mean Streets, even though people feel like it is. I feel like these cards are, on the whole, a little bit slower, and some of the faster strategies may kind of outclass them. But I'm excited about the way that they're taking these things and building a lot of new decks as opposed to just like strong cards to fit into existing decks. And we probably should, before we get into these sets, talk about the Invoke mechanic, because I don't think we've really talked about it in detail yet.
Well, right before we do, I'll let you all know, and if you listen all the time to these review episodes, you'll know this already. But for any new listeners, what we'll do is we will talk through every card in detail, and we'll somehow agree on a score for both ranked standard play and for arena play, and that score can be anywhere on the scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the worst, 5 being amazing. Zeros are held for the worst of the worst, the truly bad ones. And we'll have all of these scores available on the website at thehappyhearthstone.com. Steve does an amazing job every review season of doing the founder of the Happy Hearthstone proud by maintaining these spreadsheets and stuff. So it's fun to look at and all that kind of stuff. So we do our best to hold to whole numbers also. That's about everything I can think of. And
well, yeah, so I guess the usual disclaimer that we do at the beginning of each one of these sets too, which is that, first of all, we are rating this for the deck that wants it, which may not. We are not predicting how much play these cards are going to see. So just because we rate something a 4 or a 5, that deck may not be viable for another 6 months or so. But more in terms of like how viable is that card. Also, this is not a crafting guide. Just because we say something is a 5 does not mean you should go out and craft it day one. Just because we say something is 0 does not mean you should dust it day one.
Right.
Things change and cards get value and lose value. As more cards are revealed, we're always reviewing it with the context of the set that we have available to us in standard right now. Things can change when things rotate. Things can change when new cards get printed. I remember very vividly Yasharaj from Old Gods was a trash card until Big Priest came out, and then all of a sudden it was the best card in that set. So whatever we're doing, we're talking about for the meta that we have in front of us, assuming that nothing else gets nerfed that we're not expecting.
And I make some headspace for dreaming too. Like I don't ever want to get so caught up that I give a card that just needs one other card to really be strong, So we do our best to kind of play them both, but we do have to go with what we know for sure at the end of the day. So
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Steve. So we've got Galakron in these 5 decks. What does the invoke mechanic do? Because it's a core part of any Galakron deck that's going to come from here.
Okay, so Galakron is a hero card for the 5 evil classes. Each one of them costs 7. Each one of them gives them 5 armor. Each one of them has a new hero power that replaces, and each one of them has a battle cry. When you play a card with the invoke keyword, it will do 2 things. One, it will trigger Galakron's hero power regardless of where it is. So every time that you see a card with invoke, you have to kind of mentally add that hero power activation on top of whatever it says on the card.
Right.
The other thing is that whenever you invoke twice, you will improve the battle cry of Galakron when you play it. So it usually there's a number that starts out at 1 that usually goes to 2 and then to 4. I think with the exception of Shaman. So what you will that's what you're going to improve. So the more that you invoke before you play Galakron, the better that battle cry will be.
And the third version, the fully upgraded version, will also equip your hero with a 5/2 weapon, or 5/2 claw is what it's called. So
right.
And that's on top of everything else that's happening. So yeah, really important. I mean, we do try to for every review episode, like, kick off each class with like a key card or a key legendary that might be huge for that class for this set. It's obviously Galakron for all of these. So we'll talk about Galakron right off the bat, and then any invoke cards that come from there will refer back to their hero power, because that's really important. And Steve, you did mention before we started recording that you like to eat your dessert first. So
yes.
So how do you feel about just talking about Priest right off the bat here?
I mean, I guess I can talk about Priest cards.
A little bit, right? Why don't you do the honors to start us off with Galakron the Unspeakable?
All right. So Galakron the Unspeakable is the Galakron hero. The battle cry is destroy one random enemy minion. That scales to 2 with 2 invokes and 4 random enemy minions with 4 invokes. And the hero power is add a random priest minion to your hand. And I have seen a lot of people bashing on my boy Priest Galakron, and those people need to take a step back. Because first of all, being able to blow up to 4 minions is powerful in general. Like that's not the reason that Shadow Reaper Anduin was powerful. Like the Shadow Word Megadeath hero battle cry that came along with him, that wasn't the reason that was powerful, but it was not insignificant. And being able to have an extra clear in what's probably going to be a controlling deck is relevant. But the thing that and if you've listened to these card reviews over the past year, I get into this groove where I am searching for the Priest endgame. And I thought we got there with the quest, and clearly we did not. But the one thing that Priest has always had a problem with is finishing the game off. It's either through an overwhelming amount of value or with some sort of like a direct damage, which is why Shadow Reaper Anduin was so good, because it gave you a way to end the game. This kind of does that because you're getting pretty much the best part of like Dr. Boom, which is generating free minions. And Priest minions are not bad on average. There are some clunkers, but there aren't too many of them. And so just getting a whole bunch of just bodies to keep putting on board in the end game and continuing to generate those is relevant. And also, one thing that I realized when I was theory crafting this deck is Princess Talanji is still a standard legal card.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Talanji summons all cards in your hand that didn't start in your deck, which is literally any time you invoked Galakron or used the hero power. So Galakron could still be in your deck. You could reasonably have 4 or 5 minions that have spawned, and then Talanji on turn 8 or coined on turn 7 makes an entire board. Like, is that good enough? Do you think that that's going to see some play?
I mean, it's better than Mass Resurrection.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because the problem with Mass Resurrection right now is that you have to play minions that are worth resurrecting, which means that things like Wretched Reclaimer, which are really good, are not viable. Things that anything like an Acidic Swamp Ooze or a Blood Mage Thalnos or anything like those little early game minions that help you keep board so you don't have to keep using board clears. Like those are pretty much out of the question when you're looking at resurrecting them. So a Talanji like endgame, just being able to build that one big board at the end for one big blast, and it doesn't have to be your last play, but it's one big turn that you can get, and you can also generate another Talanji and do it more than once potentially.
Oh Lord, I didn't even think about that, but yep.
So that's, I mean, it's the kind of thing, like if you've ever played Archthief Rafam and gotten a Talanji off of it, like that's a bomb and a half. So this could be the same thing. So I think, like, I've already theory crafted a control priest deck. I don't know if it's good enough, but damn it, I'm going to try.
Just like all the times.
And I think that maybe this is enough to kind of get you there. But I wouldn't discount like how relevant just getting a bunch of dumb bodies on board can be, even if they're not like necessarily the heroes you want. They could be the heroes you deserve.
Yeah, I think I'm willing to give Galakrond a 5 here, honestly.
Yeah, I'm still burnt from my Quest Priest experience. So I'm going at a 4 because I'm kind of hedging my bets here. But I think I'm hopeful that this is it. I'm not
I was honestly
thinking
I was thinking high on Galakrond before the Talanji thing, because this battle cry I equate similarly to Shadow Reaper Anduin, which that was that was easily a 5 hero card. I don't know what we gave it, but
I'm sure we gave it a 5. I saw that card and my jaw dropped originally.
Sure.
So yeah.
I honestly think this Galakrond is worthy of the same, even though it's not going to be that powerful. Okay. I think it's going to be. I think this is definitely one of the Galakronds that you'll have the most success with.
Just mark this down because you're talking me up on a priest card.
Hey, I wanted to talk you up on priest cards last round, and I didn't. So I'm trying not to regret that again, at least.
But yeah, I mean, and you know what? It's not irrelevant, the battle cry, because like you have this gap between like Mass Hysteria and Plague of Death, where Light Bomb was kind of filling that gap. This Light Bomb's gone now because the wild cards went away. Thank goodness. This kind of fills that gap in the curve where you need a clear between 5 and 9. And so even just from that perspective, it's relevant.
And all Galakrons, as well as all Invoke cards, will not be available in Arena. So we'll actually have more cards this set that we don't give an Arena score to than ever before, I think. And also, one thing I forgot to mention is that these versions of Galakron actually don't count to the full 135 cards. So we've actually got 3 legendary cards for each of the League of Evil classes. So more cards than ever to talk about, which means we should probably be on our way.
Let's get going.
So we've got Mind Flayer Karaj, I want to say.
Karj? I've been calling it Karj.
It reminds me of Yasharaj, the way it's spelled, so I don't know. 3 mana, 3/3 legendary, priest minion, battle cry, choose an enemy minion, death rattle, summon a new copy of it. So this summon a new copy is on your side of the battlefield. When I first saw this card, I was like, what in the world? Like, because the wording's a little foolish, but the way it works is you'll be able to summon whatever you want from your enemy's side on your side when Karaj dies. So I'm really split on this card. You know, in the preview video, they showed it with King Crush, and obviously that's pretty powerful. Well,
yeah, I mean that's clearly the best case scenario.
But they also comboed this card with Wretched Reclaimer, which allows you to trigger, or is it Wretched Reclaimer kills a friendly minion, right?
Yeah, I don't think you get the battle cry a second time. No,
right.
I think that that's just like an empty death rattle. Like if you resummoned like a carnivorous cube, I think that you wouldn't get 2 more minions.
So the tough thing for me is that this seems like it could be powerful, but it's not really playing on tempo well because it requires an activation in order to be immediate. And that activation itself doesn't, like, you'd have to have something really specific like King Crush to give you lethal for it to really be the dream scenario. And I don't see that playing out very often.
Well, I mean, first of all, it's 2 bodies for 3 mana, right? It's a 3 mana 3/3 for starters. That's fine, right? Like, Priest doesn't really have a lot of great tempo minions to begin with.
Okay.
And, remember Kathrina? Like, remember what a pain in the butt it was to deal with a Kathrina, knowing what was going to come out of it?
Sure, yeah.
And your opponent's going to know what's coming out of this. Not to mention the fact that you compare this with Mass Hysteria on 8 mana.
Okay, now that's interesting. Now you're talking.
Yeah. So now you pick the minion that you want, and that minion is guaranteed to be on your side of the board after the Mass Hysteria finishes.
As long as this dies.
As long as this dies, which it probably is going to.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that this is basically 2 bodies for 1. It doesn't ask really anything of you other than your opponent playing good minions, which most of the time they're going to. So, I mean, from that perspective, I don't know that it's a 5, but I think it's probably a 4 because I would want this in any sort. I mean, even like a combo priest might run this. Like, I don't know that it wants to, but I don't know that it doesn't want to. You know what I mean? Like, your opponent's going to put up big taunts to get in the way. Okay, well, you just put up a minion that has a big butt. I'm going to take that and start Divine Spirit interfiring it.
I think
right?
What's tough for me is that this card just screams that it needs support. Not only does it need for your opponent to play something that you want, but it also needs something to either take care of that enemy minion after you trigger the battle cry, or to kill Courage so that you can get more value out of it. So I'm okay with the 4 because I feel like that maybe I'm missing something here. Like the combo with Mass Hysteria makes a lot of sense. I just this feels clunky to me, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other thing is, like, if you target something that's valuable to them and they kill it off for you, are you upset about that? I'm not.
But they're not going to, right?
No, I'm saying they kill off the minion that you targeted.
Oh,
like they
okay.
trade it off or whatever, or they kill it themselves so you can't get it. I'm fine. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter. It's already dead. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to stay alive, actually.
Right.
Like, I don't even know what I was thinking. That minion doesn't need to live, so it doesn't even matter, right? So it's just, they just need to not get silenced or hexed, which, I mean, is most of priest cards anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's really asking that much of you. I mean, you're going to be running board clears as priest. You can even penance this if you really want to.
Yeah.
Like, you can 5 mana play this penance it if you really just want to get that minion right away. So there's a lot of ways that you can kill, or Shadow Rip Pain, or Forbidden Words. There's a lot of ways. Like, in a control priest, you're gonna have plenty of ways to kill.
Yeah,
minions.
but your opponent still has that good minion, and then is it better for them that they have the initiative? That's where I'm stuck. And
yeah, but you're not looking for this to remove it, right? Like, this is not a removal card. This is a tempo card. This is being annoying.
Okay.
Right? Like, this is making your opponent waste resources dealing with 2 minions for 3 mana. And making them, even before that, think twice about, do I want to play this minion because they could carge it, and how do I deal with that?
Okay. I'm going to trust you on this because we probably need to move on. 4 in construction.
I think it's 4s across. I think it's 4s across the board. In arena, it's just 2 butts, which is fine.
I'll go with you on that.
I mean, the first one is fairly statted, and so you're getting anything, and that's better. That's basically better than a 3 mana 3/4.
Cool. All right, talk to us about the legendary dragon here.
Okay, so Murazan the Infinite is an 8 mana 8/8 dragon. We should also say each one of the classes is going to get a legendary dragon. We forgot to mention that.
That's true. They got it. They have to. It's a dragon set.
Yeah.
So come on.
So Murazan the Infinite, battle cry, play all cards your opponent played last turn. So this I'm a little bit less sure about. I mean, at a minimum, right? Like, we should say you will get spells with random targets. You will not get battle cries. You will not get battle cries from minions. You will not get battle cries from hero cards. But you'll get anything else. So it's like, anytime you play Test Greymane, it's kind of the same thing. I don't know. I mean, at a minimum, right, you're getting an 8 mana 8/8, which is fine. It's a vanilla 8 mana 8/8. That's the worst case scenario. You're also getting probably another body or 2, or another spell that is relevant, on the turn you play this. How awkward is this going to be? I have no idea. It feels pretty awkward. I don't know how hard it's going to be to get value out of this. I love the concept. I think it's a really cool card. I'm on the fence about how I put this in the control priest deck that I was theory crafting. It would probably be the one that I would cut first, because I had a hard time finding room for it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I feel so similarly with this card as I do with Courage, because it's dependent on your opponent. And yes, your opponent's going to have big, impactful turns, but they've got the initiative based off of what they did. So yes, you've got an 8 mana 8/8 on top of whatever they did, but I feel like you're going to be waiting a long time for something that's like the perfect turn, and you're never going to quite get it. And so the right way to play this card is to do it when they kind of did something fine, and then it's like, why are you playing this in your deck?
Yeah.
So
it's still 2 bodies, right? Like, if they're playing a minion, it's still 2 bodies.
Right.
But yeah,
right.
No, you're right. Like, if they still get to hit you in the face with that minion, you haven't done anything about it, then if you can, is this win more at that point? Like, if you're playing an 8 mana, a vanilla 8 mana 8/8, that's not really maybe it's affecting the board, but you can't control how it's affecting the board, then that's what I'm not sure about.
It's a cool card. I really like the
Yeah.
idea. I just don't think it's really going to work out. So I'm feeling a 3 on this. What do you think?
I'm with you. I
Okay.
originally gave it a 4. I'm willing to go down to a 3 on it because I'm just not sure about it.
In
In Arena,
Arena,
it's probably a 4 because it's at least an 8 mana 8/8 plus
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, which is typically going to be good.
Yeah.
All right, next one here is Fate Weaver, 4 mana 3/6 Epic Dragon, Battle Cry. If you've invoked twice, reduce the cost of cards in your hand by 1 mana. So each of these classes is also going to have lots of cards to support the invoke mechanic, and there's at least one card, I think it is just one card for each class, that has an advantage if you've been invoking. That doesn't. So this card does not invoke itself. It's just a bonus payoff if you've been invoking over the course of the game. This is basically a mini Emperor Thorson. A 4 mana 3/6 is fine. I think that the reason you really want to play this if you're playing the Galakron deck is just because it's a dragon. Like the fact that it's a dragon, it'll support all the other dragon synergies in your deck, which you're probably going to have already. I don't think Galakron's just going to run that hero card. I think they're going to want to play with some of these other cool dragon tools. So I think it's fine. I'm not super, excited about a reduce the cards in my hand by one time. Emperor Thorson has the infinite potential, even and becomes a lightning rod. This just kind of does it. Unless there's some combo priest deck, a new combo priest deck that I'm not thinking of that would be possible with this.
Well, it's a 3/6,
Yeah.
right? So Combo Priest might just want it just for that reason alone. I don't think
didn't
Combo
think
Priest
about
is going to
that.
run
That's a good point.
Galakron.
Yeah.
I doubt it's going to run Galakron because that's
No.
very slow for a Combo Priest.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the dragon synergies are not that much right now. I mean, you have Breath of the Infinite we'll talk about, and Chrono Breaker, which that's really it. But there's not a lot of dragon synergies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you're getting into the neutrals, obviously. But I mean, I think that reducing the cost of your hand by 1 in a control priest, again, where a lot of things are expensive,
Yeah.
like bringing a Plague of Death from 9 to 8 is not insignificant.
That is a
And
big deal. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
it is a big deal. And the other thing is that if you're playing Galakron, you're invoking twice, you're generating a bunch of random crap that you're putting into your hand. Now you're going to discount all that by 1. That's a big deal, right? Because now you've got all these random priest minions that you've been collecting because you've been invoking because you're able to proc the battle cry.
Right.
And now you're going to discount all those random minions. That's a big deal. So I think that because of the deck that it's going to be in, it gets more valuable just because you're going to have a handful of jank that you're going to want to be able to play out. Right.
That's the name of your second book, right? Handful of Jank.
Yes. Yes. That's actually the next album from my solo indie artist career.
Oh goodness. And I think just to tip our hand, we've got a 1 mana invoke card in the preset. So invoking twice isn't really a high call. I mean, there's plenty of neutral tools that'll make that accessible for anyone, but I think especially because we've got a 1 mana one here. There's a good chance. And honestly, the big thing I thought of when you say control priest, they always have a lot of cards in their hand. So just the fact that you get that tick on 6, 7, 8 cards, that's fantastic. So yeah, I'm thinking of 4 on this. Does that...
I think that was my instinct. Yeah.
Okay. And it won't be an arena.
Yeah. And by the way, before we go on to the next card, the cards are not showing on the stream
because I forgot. Thanks.
Okay. So I figured I would wait until we were done at a good stopping point.
Sorry, streamers. Sorry, friends who are visiting us on Twitch or YouTube, but we'll keep going here. Thank you for letting me know.
Yep. Okay. So this next one is mine, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Envoy of Lazul is a 2 mana 2/2 battle cry. Look at 3 cards. Guess which one is in your opponent's hand to get a copy of it. So we have Madame Lazul, who's legal and standard now, who lets you discover a card that's in your opponent's hand. We had Curious Glimmerroot in Ungoro, who was a 3 mana 3/3 that did the same thing, but it was guessing which cards started in your opponent's deck. The difference here, and Curious Glimmerroot, I remember we rated low and were very wrong about, because you would basically get to choose between 1 card that started in your opponent's deck and 2 cards that didn't, and that was generally pretty obvious.
Yeah.
The 3 cards that it's going to show you all started the 2 that are not in the opponent's hand are in their deck.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to guess what they've drawn, and that is a much harder thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's much easier. It's basically just knowledge of the deck that will tell you did it start in the deck or not. Knowing what's in their hand, unless their hand's down to like one or two, you've been tracking their hand and it's down to like one or two cards that were generated from random effects, and it's like you have something from that you know wouldn't have started in their hand in their deck. And then you can get a copy of that. But a lot of times you're gonna guess wrong, and then you're just playing a vanilla 2-mana 2/2. And on top of that, Madame Lazul's there and it hasn't seen play yet. And would play Madame Lazul before I would play any copies of this to begin with.
Yep. You said it all, honestly, in my book. I think it's a 1.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably a 2 because it's probably a little bit better than that. And I think that you can get an advantage if you're good at hand tracking, but
but hand tracking doesn't even help you here. You don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Like unless it's really late in the game. And my understanding might even be off, but if it shows cards that they've played 2 of, then you can. Otherwise, it is purely a guess. So I don't see any reason why you would ever play this card.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yeah, I can go down to a 1. In Arena, it's probably a little bit better just because it's slightly understated, and you can just take a wild guess, and 33% of the time you'll be right.
33% of the time it works every time. So
so
I'm fine with
it's
the
probably
2
a 2 in Arena. Yeah.
Cool.
Mad at Arms is saying in the chat, you play this after Lazul to get a better chance. Yeah, that's yeah.
We're really stretching now.
Yeah.
Okay, next one here is Time Rip, a 5-mana rare spell. Destroy a minion, invoke Galakrond. So this is Assassinate with an invoke mechanic. So again, whenever you see invoke, you're potentially, or you're tracking for the upgrade of your Galakrond card, but you're also triggering the hero power. So this could read 5 mana, destroy a minion, add a random priest minion to your hand. So Assassinate never really saw any play. We did have the Vilespine Slayer, which was insane. That's a 3/4 body that's summoned, and there are no priest minions that just get summoned for free. I still think it's fine, though. I mean, just a delete a card, especially when priest has a lot of good removal already. They don't have, well, I guess they've got... Here's the question. I'll ask the priest main here. Are you going to play this instead of the Shadow Words or not?
I think you're playing instead of Forbidden Words.
Okay.
Because Forbidden Words was a card that was seeing play, and I think you cut down to at least one of those, and you play this instead. Because Forbidden Words is good early for dealing with little early minions, and that was generally replacing Shadow Word Pain.
Sure.
I don't know if this replaces Shadow Word Death or you run this in addition, but like having unconditional hard removal is something that Priest has really never had, aside from like Entomb, which even then. That's going back a ways, right? So just having 5 mana, remove a minion, no strings attached. And by the way, here's a bonus priest minion for your trouble. Like, I'm running that. Even if I'm not playing Galakrond, I'm probably running that in a control priest. Yeah. You wouldn't run that in Tempo Rogue because it's so slow. Like control priest is slow, so it's fine. And being able to remove like an Edwin. Like an Edwin that gets out of control, or a questing adventurer that gets out of control when you can't find your Shadow Word Death, whatever, it's relevant. So I think this is. I was actually they showed this at BlizzCon, and I may have jumped out of my seat.
Really?
And I think this is a 5. I think you're going to run this in Priest pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. It seems like one of the more powerful invoke cards for any class, honestly. So.
Yeah, like a lot of them are really unimpressive for the most part. Like they're pretty small effects. This is a pretty big effect. I mean, it's cost you 5 mana, but it's a card you would want to run, and you just happen to be in the Galakrond deck.
Yeah, I like it.
Breath of the Infinite is a 3 mana rare spell. Deal 2 damage to all minions. If you're holding a dragon, only damage enemies. It looks like this meta might be going more aggro, so you'll probably want to run this. It's better than Holy Ripple because 2 is better than 1. I ran the numbers.
Math.
Math. And I mean, if you're playing dragons, then it's a consecration for 3 mana, which is fine. You're probably going to find other things to do if you're not playing dragons. But like, let's be honest, you're probably playing dragons.
And even if you're not, this is just Volcanic Potion, which control mages would run that card just straight up. So I think these dragon cards also, there are several spells that like upgrade are pretty nutty. I don't think we'll talk about most of them today, or most of the really crazy ones. But this is another one where I'm like, I think it's just perfectly fine because it's literally volcanic potion. So if there's a chance you would run this in a deck without the extra condition, that just makes it all the better that it's good. I think it's probably a solid 4.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Combo Priest might run it. Like,
yeah.
You run Wild Pyromancer to be able to do that, and then Circle of Healing. You don't even need the extra card to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Even if you're not running dragons, you don't even need to run dragons. Like, you're probably happy or not.
Yeah.
Because you want to damage everything and then heal it up again. So, I think it's probably a 4. And it's at least a 4 in Arena. Like, you don't even care if you're damaging your minions in Arena. This is just a small board clear.
Yeah, and AoE is so powerful. I think yeah, we'll stick with 4 on Arena there.
Yeah.
With an upside, perhaps.
Yeah.
Next one here is Chrono Breaker, 5 mana, 4/5 dragon, death rattle. If you're holding a dragon, deal 3 damage to all enemy minions. So this is like Chill Maw and Duskbreaker had a love child, and he grew into a mighty warrior, and he was good. I heard a lot of people right out the gate saying like this is broken because Duskbreaker was crazy. There's just a really big difference between a death rattle and a battle cry. But Chill Maw's a great example where like Chill Maw was still really powerful even though it was a death rattle, especially because your opponent had to guess whether they, do I go for it and just kill Chill Maw right now, or do I wait until they can play their dragons? It just puts them in a very awkward position. So I really like the card. I think it's super powerful.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 differences between this and Chill Maw. One is that Chill Maw had taunt.
That's a big deal, yeah.
That's a really, really big deal. And now I forgot what the other one is. So that's great. I mean, it's definitely not Dustbreaker, because Dustbreaker there's this huge difference between a battle cry. You don't get to control when this goes off.
Right.
At least with Chill Maw, you're forcing your opponent to attack into this.
Yeah.
Here they can just ignore it. And that's a big, big difference.
Yeah, but a 4/5 is going to put the hurt on after a few turns. Like, if they're in a position, if they're just aggro, then yeah, they can, but any other deck is going to be looking twice. Yeah,
but I mean, it's aggro that you're worried about, right?
Sure.
Like, it's aggro is the reason that you're playing this. I mean, yeah, you can play this in Retro Reclaimer on 8, right? And that's a combo. Mm-hmm. That's something you can do. If you're getting to 8, doing 3 damage to the board probably isn't that relevant.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm less psyched about this. I'm down to a 3 on it, to be honest with you. Just because, like, if it had taunt, it would be so much better.
Oh, sure.
But the fact that you don't have any way to force your opponent to interact with it is really kind of problematic. And I mean, you're looking at putting this down and then Mass Hysteria, which you're either doing on turn 10, which, I mean, again, how much is 3 damage doing to the board? I mean, that could at least clean up after a Mass Hysteria, or you're waiting one more turn and hoping your opponent doesn't kill you.
Okay. I think I'll let you have that one in a 3.
Okay.
In Arena, it's probably the same.
Yeah, because you're less likely to have a dragon in Arena. I mean, in this rotation you might, because you've got BlackRock and you've got
a lot
Descent
there.
Dragons.
Yeah. So I would probably keep it at a 3 there, though.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Whispers of Evil is a 0 mana common spell. Add a lackey to your hand. We knew that something like this was coming. It's fine. So you basically it's a random lackey. Mm-hmm. You play the spell, you get a random lackey. If you're playing something like a Nomi Priest, then, where you're cycling with Gadgetzan Auctioneer, maybe this is something that you want, or where you're playing like Grave Horrors and getting those down for cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, I can't see this making it into a constructed deck unless you're getting like random spell generation from like an Ethereal Lackey or something.
Yeah, if this was, it can't be Discover because that'd be the Sinister Deal, I guess.
Yeah.
So it has to be random. Yeah, I think it's a 2 because it'll have a place in some of those decks, but overall, it's a card.
Yeah, I mean, if all you care about is the number in the upper left corner, then yeah, you put this in the deck. Otherwise, you don't.
For Arena, it's probably
the same.
Yeah, it's probably a 2 there too.
I mean, how much we know lackeys are good. Are you drafting a random lackey to put into your deck? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. All right, next one here is Grave Rune, 4 mana common spell. Give a minion Death Rattle, summon 2 copies of this. Are you ready for Carnivorous Cube to return, Steve?
On a stick. I mean, or not on a stick.
On a spell.
This is like on a platter. This is Grave Rune is a Carnivorous Cube on a platter, basically.
When I first read this, I was like, that's weird. And then when I realized it's Carnivorous Cube, essentially, I was like, oh, that effect is just strong. It doesn't matter if
Yeah.
if you want to think of something that really takes advantage of this, like the fact that this exists, there will be some broken combination, whether it's out the gates or in the next year. It was actually interesting. Man at Arms brought up in the chat that Mind Flayer Courage also curves into this. So there are some
Yeah.
interesting implications where, oh, actually, it doesn't. Well,
It's well, I mean, the
whatever
thing that
tank.
comes out of it, if you kill off
It's
the
a copy.
you play. So if you play it right, you play
Mm-hmm.
Courage, whatever his name is,
Mm-hmm.
and then you trade it off. You get the minion, and then you play this on the next turn. That's
Oh,
the
okay. Okay, that's the
yeah.
combo. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, and it's also again, I've brought it up. This is probably like the most I've mentioned a card that hasn't seen any play yet.
Mm-hmm.
But Wretched Reclaimer is a card.
There's lots of Death Rattle stuff going on in Priest
Yeah.
this go round. So.
So Wretched Reclaimer is a card. Vivid Nightmare is a card.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of ways to make copies of things and get more out of this. It's awkward. You're gonna have to do a lot of work to get this to happen, but you could do some pretty disgusting things. I haven't sat down and figured out what I want to copy with this yet. But this is one of those cards, and we've had these cards like Call to Arms is one that I remember off the top of my head, and there were a couple of others where we've said, I don't know how to break this, but somebody's going to, and we're all going to hate it.
Yeah.
And that's how this card feels to me. I don't know how to break this card yet, but somebody's going to figure it out, and it's going to be disgusting.
I do feel like Priest is the right class right now for this, because it doesn't necessarily scare me that there's something so obvious right out of the. I mean, there could be. We'll be watching Hockey Boy's Twitter feed to see if there's something. I think it's a 5 just because of that potential. Honestly, it's a very strong mechanic, and it's going to create some decks all on its own. For Arena, it's fine as long as you have a good minion. So it's probably in the 3 or 4 neighborhood.
I mean, are you drafting this instead of just a minion though? Like,
if you have enough good minions,
would you rather have 2 copies of a minion that needs to survive, or would you rather, and you need to stick, or would you rather just have another minion to play? I don't know.
Yeah, it's really dependent, because there's some times where this could be the insane card that actually pushes you over the edge. But you're right. You'd rather have something that's not dependent on an effect or on another minion. So maybe a 3 for that.
Yeah, I gave it a 2. I could go up to a 3 on that.
Okay, we'll go 3.
All right. And then sadly, the last Priest card. I will have to break away, and I'm sorry, but
it'll be another 4 months before we do this again.
Disciple of Galakron, 1 mana, 1/2, Battlecry, invoke Galakron. If you're playing Galakron, you're playing this. It's 1 mana, 1/2, add a random priest minion to your hand.
That's a good effect. Yeah,
that's fine. So like we play 1 mana, 1/2s that do less than that.
Pharaoh
like
Cat.
you play Pharaoh Cat, and that can give you generous mummy sometimes. And there is nothing in priest that's as bad as generous mummy.
Yeah.
So I think that's fine. I think it's a 3. Like, you're not going to be excited about it, but if you're playing Galakron, this is going in the deck.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll send Lazul off to her doings. Her biddings? I don't know.
And off to the streets, I guess?
Something like that, yeah. And Togwaggle's up next here with our rogue card. So we'll kick it off with Galakron the Nightmare. 7 mana, 5 armor. As usual, Battlecry is draw 1 card. It costs 0. So when invoked twice and upgraded, it'll be draw 2 cards that cost 0. And the third and final one is draw 4 cards, and they each cost 0 mana. This Galakron's hero power is Galakron's Guile, which is 2 mana, add a lackey to your hand. It's a random lackey, right?
I would assume so. If to discover a lackey, I'm leaving Hearthstone.
They would explicitly say that if it were. So the truth is, like, looking at this, like, this card does a lot of stuff that Rogue has been notorious for loving doing. Free cards are very good. And lackeys are insane because they help with any combo cards that the class might have, and they all do really good things. I keep thinking about a miracle style deck that might be coming out of this expansion, and I'm kind of on the fence whether Galakron goes in that or not, because drawing cards that are free is really good for that. Lackeys are fine. I guess it's weird because I feel like this is a really strong card, and yet I don't know quite where it fits.
I mean, I'm in the same place now. I just realized, like, literally the second that Spear of the Shark is still in standard. So you could just draw. You could basically get a Myra's Unstable Element, except all the cards are free, and
No,
that's
well,
disgusting.
no, I think it's only minions that trigger
Oh,
for Spirit
is
of
it
the
only
Shark.
minions? Oh,
It's
thank
only
God.
minions. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank God. Okay, never mind. Just
That is a very
strike
good
all
thing.
that. Strike all that. Okay, never mind. This is my problem with Galakron for. This is the only one where I can't envision a deck. Like I can see a deck coming out. I may not be happy with what the deck looks like, but I can envision how you would build a deck around the rest of them. I do not envision how you're building a deck around something like this. Maybe it is just Spirit of the Shark. Maybe just generating that much value off of the
All
lackeys
those lackeys,
is enough
yeah.
with the double battle cries.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. But I don't see something coming together around this, especially with the invoke cards that you need to play in Rogue to get this to happen, which are probably worse than everything else. I'm not seeing Galakron happening. Like I started my theory crafting list, and this is the only one of the Galakron classes where I could not figure out a deck that I wanted to build with Galakron.
Yeah, it's tough because the battle cry really is similar to the treasure that you get from Togwaggle.
Right.
I can't remember what that thing's called. It draws 3 cards.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it either, but I know what you're talking about.
But regardless,
that costs 3 and not 7.
Right, that's in that deck. And lackeys are all in that deck, so it really is dependent on, are those invoke cards good enough? And I agree with you already that I don't think that they are. So This is a really tough one to evaluate for me. I kind of have to go 3 because I think there's potential, there's some strength there, but I don't see it coming together in the end.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is Spirit of the Shark is the answer, because like if you're invoking, you're getting 2 lackeys, and then each of the lackeys goes off twice. You have all these extra lackey generators. Maybe you can cut things like Evil Cable Rat at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm at a 3 just because I don't know how you build around this.
Okay. Well, let's do that. And if you have any awesome theory crafts, let us know, because
I
want to believe. Actually, maybe
I might have to try that. But I might try that this weekend. If you are listening to Off Curve, I usually do a theory crafting episode where I go through as many decks as I can think of on the episode right before the set comes out. So I may actually add that to my thing just to try it. I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm not promising any of those decks are good.
No.
But Galakron Shark Rogue should probably go on my list just to try and see what it looks like.
I think even just following the normal tempo style that Rogue's been doing for a while might be okay.
It might be enough.
And the neutral, even though these cards aren't great, there's some pretty decent neutral invoke cards also.
Yeah.
And so for each of those to just give you a lackey, that's pretty good, especially if you're running other combo cards. So yeah, maybe it works, but we'll see. Talk to us about the card you're more excited about here, though.
Yeah, so Waxadread is a 5-mana 7/5 Death Rattle. Shuffle a candle into your deck that resummons Waxadread when drawn.
And it's a dragon.
And that dragon will have the Death Rattle again. Mm-hmm. So you're going to keep cycling these dragons through your deck. And I mean, we probably need to talk about this together with Necreum Apothecary.
Okay.
Because I feel like those two cards kind of go together. And Necreum Apothecary is a 4-mana 5/2 epic
2/5.
That says combo 2/5. Sorry, 4-mana 2/5 epic with combo. Draw a Death Rattle minion from your deck and gain its Death Rattle. So already you're shuffling multiple things into your deck that are going to summon more 7/5s, and those 7/5s are going to shuffle more 7/5s into your deck. That seems like a deck to me. Like we already have N'Zoth Rogue, which was a little bit slower of a rogue that revolved around basically just not dying and then drawing your deck or Myra's and then Togwaggle scheming a million N'Zoths in, and then so like you can probably take a lot of the N'Zoth pieces out of that and put this in, and you still have things like Necreum Blade and Necreum Vial that are still viable in standard. So there's a potential to just kind of create this infinite value engine.
Well,
that's
the main downside to that idea is that the token that's generated off of the Death Rattle will not activate Necreum Apothecary. So there has to be a full Waxadread minion in your deck. So that either means that you haven't drawn Waxadread yet when you play Necreum Apothecary, or you've used Togwaggle's Scheme to get several into your deck. I think I think there's something to that. I hadn't thought about it with Togwaggle Scheme, but if you just hold on to that for several turns,
Yeah.
with this being 5 mana, really easy to combo with that, even mid game or something, and shuffle 5 or 6 copies into your deck. Then you've got something with Necreum Apothecary because there's a really good chance you're going to draw it, and you've just got like 5 mana 7/5s for life.
Right.
And the stats are good. It's really aggressive. So I think that, having a bunch of those is really going to be a problem for your opponent.
Yeah. So I'm choosing to believe this is probably a trap, but I'm choosing to believe and choosing to go up to a 4 because I feel like there's a deck around this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's
I feel
potential.
like we've proven out this hypothesis with N'Zoth Rogue that you can play a rogue that's not going to die immediately and play a little bit of a slower style.
Yeah.
So this is a viable endgame scenario for that you just that any control deck really just they can't outvalue it.
Right.
Like even if you're playing something like a Hakar, you're just shuffling more of this crap into your deck anyway. So you can kind of outpace the Bloods.
That's good.
So I'll go with the 4. And even in Arena, same thing. Like it's fine, right? Yep. It's overstated. I don't understand why this is overstated, but it is.
Yeah, as a 5/5, it would probably be fine too.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be feeling very similarly. So in an Arena, for you to be aggressive, your opponent's going to have to deal with it, but it might come up again. So yeah, I'm with you on 4s on that. Next one we've got is Flick Sky Shiv, which is a 6 mana 4/4 legendary. Battlecry, destroy a minion and all copies of it wherever they are. They could be in the shadows or under the sewers, and they're dead. This is a cool effect. It's interesting. Really, you need to think about this card in line with Vilespine Slayer, where it's not so much that you're only playing this in the situation where there's some insane deck that has tons of copies of something in their deck. Well, actually, I can't even think. Well, Waxadread wouldn't work because those are all candles, not the actual.
Cheval is the one that immediately comes to mind.
Chevala with Satharvar, potentially that could be the best case.
Or even just Baleful Banker, right? Like you have to play out like you have to play out the first one to start the combo, or sometimes you have to do that just to heal. You do that, you Sky Shiv it. There goes your win condition. Right. Like that's an extreme example, but that is
maybe there's examples with against Hunter also because they end up having a lot of tokens, whether that's from Unleash the Hounds or Unleash the Beast
or Dire Frenzy.
Exactly. So those are all interesting, but really like the power of Flick Sky Shiv is that it's a 6 mana 4/4 with an Assassinate attached to it. You don't need the destroy them wherever they are to understand the power level of this card. Just it being able to remove something is crazy. I mean, we had Blade of Cthulhu back in Whispers of the Old God. That was a 9.
Blade of Cthulhu. That's a deep.
Come on, man. Wow. That was a 9 mana 4/4 that destroyed a minion. So, and it had more upside to it too. But sincerely, I think that this is a crazy good card. It's just great removal for any rogue deck, essentially.
I mean, we played Vilespine Slayer.
Yeah.
Right. Like we played Vilespine Slayer. That was a 5 mana 3/4 with combo destroy a minion. You usually had to spend at least one mana to activate it. This doesn't have any combo activation. It's just a 6 mana 4/4 delete a minion. It's good tempo. The body's decent. You were fine with the 3/4 with Vilespine. You'll be even happier with the 4/4. The only downside is the legendary, but I really don't think you care.
Yeah.
If you happen to blow up an extra copy of the minion,
great,
fantastic. You probably don't care. It's still going to be good. This is like we always talk about like what does this card ask of you? This card asks of you to playing against a deck that plays minions.
Yeah. It's 5s across the board.
Yeah,
I watched Regis Kilbin streaming the preview, and he was playing a deck he was playing a Face Hunter deck and had the Toxic Reinforcement side quest. So he had 3 Leper Gnomes on his side of the board, and their opponent had to place Flick Sky Shiv on one of the Leper Gnomes, and it killed all 3 of them, and so they took 6 damage, and that was something.
Yeah.
It was more for the memes than anything, but it was fun.
Well, I mean, you got, for science, right?
Yes, exactly.
So Umbral Skulker is a 4 mana 3/3 battle cry. If you've invoked twice, add 3 coins to your hand. So I guess this is where your idea of Miracle Rogue is coming from. Because obviously if you're playing the Galakron stuff, you're probably playing this, and then you're going to get free spells off of the Galakron. And the reason that Miracle Rogue has not been a thing has been because Counterfeit Coin's been gone and Tomb Pillagers been gone, so there really hasn't been any way to generate coins, and this is a way to do that in a lot of them. this feels really slow for that
Yeah.
kind of a deck. Like a Miracle Rogue is generally a much more tempo style deck that happens to have this, this effect that it can go off like that.
Hmm.
And it's going to be a while before you can. I mean, maybe it's not, but it's like the invoke cards again that Rogue has are a little bit awkward
You're playing the
as
neutral
far.
cards if you're doing Galakrond Rogue.
Yeah, yeah, but even then, like it seems like a lot of work to get there. But maybe 3 coins is enough to just kind of get you started and start drawing through your deck,
I mean,
right?
three
So
coins is crazy on its own. The problem I was thinking of with this is that, like, other than Tomb Pillager, every card I could think of for Rogue that's given you a coin has been like a total bust. Like, it hasn't worked.
yeah,
So 3 coins is a lot. And yes, this was a key part of thinking that Miracle Rogue. Well, those are the decks that really take advantage of that.
yeah,
And the fact that you can combo this with Gadgets and Auctioneer means that you could draw 3 cards in a turn. Miracle Rogue wants to do that, so maybe it's good
yeah.
enough.
Or you make a big Edwin. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's fine. I think what you and I are both probably trapped on is we don't see the Galakrond Rogue deck really working. So it's really hard to remove this card from that because it's the only deck you play it
right.
in. So I want to give it a 3 just because I think there's some potential there, and it's a solid card if it works. Um,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
where I'm at.
I mean, I wanted to give it a 2, and I'm generally wrong about rogue cards, so I'm willing to go up to a 3. I think that's fair.
The problem is I'm not necessarily generally right, but I'll still
Yeah,
stick with that there. Okay, and Necreum Apothecary, we already talked about the 4-mana 2/5 combo, draw a Death Rattle minion and
yeah.
gain its Death Rattle. What are you thinking on this one, Steve?
It's probably a 3. It's
Yeah.
probably exactly in that Waxadread deck. It's probably fine. Outside of that, like the kinds of death rattles that Rogue has. I mean, it's gonna depend on the death rattles that are available
I
to
mean,
Rogue, really.
you're going to be playing Mechanical Whelp. That's like,
Yeah,
if you just play that in Waxadread, you're probably doing just fine, honestly.
yeah. I mean, you
Um,
have to play something else other than Waxadread in that deck just to make sure that you get value out of it,
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
getting a
But yeah,
7/7 off a 2/5 body is pretty good. So I
yeah,
I think 3's probably right. In
yeah,
Arena, it's probably a 3 also. Like
yeah.
you have to draft a good Death Rattle. Even if you get a Loot Hoarder, I guess it's not terrible.
You have to draft a death rattle. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be good. You're still getting a card, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that's the thing is
And it's
we were
drawing
looking
that card.
like if you look at like Elven Minstrel, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't even necessarily care what the minions are that you were
Sure,
drawing off of
sure.
that, just that you were getting 2 cards off of it. So it's probably a 3 also. It's probably just fine.
Yeah.
Like it's card draw.
Yeah.
So and Rogue doesn't always have the best options for card draw.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Seal Fate is 3 mana rare spell, deal 3 damage to an undamaged character, invoke Galakrond. So this is one of the 2 invoke cards, and this just feels rough.
Yeah.
Like you get to backstab for 0, you're paying 1 extra mana to do, or you're paying 3 mana to do 3 damage to get and get a lackey, right? Like the get a lackey part of it makes it slightly tolerable, but still that's a big ask, right? Like 3 mana, you're getting combo, getting a 1/4 and a lackey. So like, and then it has to be on damage, which means you may struggle to play this. You struggle to play backstab too, but it's not as much of an investment, right? Like this is most of your turn in the early game, and you want to be playing this in the early game because if you're playing this, you probably want to get the Umbral Skulker online as soon as you can, and you're going to need to find a target for this.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think about
you probably play it if you're playing Galakrond, but A, we're not convinced you're going to play Galakrond.
I don't
and
think
B, it seems like it sucks.
That's the thing. I don't think that you do. I think that there's a place where like you just use the neutral cards because I haven't spent a lot of time with the neutral cards, but like my quick glance at them was like, yeah, these are fine. And the fact that the hero power for Galakrond is so powerful, like getting a lackey is really good. I think there's a good chance, but it's not because I think this card is a 1, maybe even a 0, honestly.
Like I would want this to be a minion so I could pair it with Spear of the Shark. It's not.
Yeah. No, we'll keep it at a 1 there.
Yeah.
Next one is Dragon's Horde, 1 mana rare spell. Discover a legendary minion from another class. So I had no clue where to put this card before. I did
In the
get
trash is where you put
well,
it.
I got to catch Boar Control and Jambra's review, and they mentioned the only reason you play this card is to activate your what's it called? 2 mana 3/4 with Rush. Or
The Underbelly Fence.
Underbelly Fence and your Vendetta. So turn one having both of those, it's kind of interesting, but I don't think you need that, and you're not gonna. Even they weren't saying it's good because of that. They were saying that's like literally the only reason you would ever play it.
Yeah, I mean, you can play Pilfer, right?
Yeah.
And like, I mean, it is Discover. Legendary minions from class minions are generally better than neutrals.
Mm-hmm.
All things fair. Like, I think you probably play this when you get it off of Ethereal Lackey. I don't think you put this in a deck. Like the other use case again is if you're playing a Miracle Rogue, but there are better cheap spells than this.
Yeah.
I think this is a 1 also.
I'm not here for it. Definitely a 1.
Yeah.
In Arena, it's probably 1.
It's still a 1. Yeah. Because there are still some real bad class legendaries.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I mean, you could get like Duskfall and Aviana's a class legendary, right? Like there are some really bad ones too, and they're very synergistic, right? Like very often those cards rely on synergies that you're not going to have in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
So Stowaway is a 5 mana 4/4 battle cry. If there are cards that in your deck that didn't start there, draw 2 of them. You know what cards are going to be in your deck that didn't start there? Candles that summon Waxadread. That's what's going to be in your deck.
Interesting. Okay.
So, I mean, when you think about it that way, a 5 mana 4/4 that summons 2 7/5s is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
If it works out that way. So, but I mean, other than that, right? Like, what are you shuffle? I mean, if you're going out of your way to Togwaggle scheme something, it's probably going to be really, really late, and you're probably not going to want to do that. And the other way that this can really backfire is, you know what else could start in your deck? It could get in your deck that didn't start there. Bombs and Corrupted Bloods.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we have a bomb meta incoming, so I don't think you have to worry about that. But the question is, what are the Waxadread's great. Pogo Hopper obviously likes this too, especially since Pogo Hoppers are 1 mana, and you probably play them immediately. So there's a place for Stowaway. It's a cool mechanic, and it allows you to think differently about shuffling those cards into your deck, because for so long we haven't had a good payoff for doing that other than the really long game. So this gives you something immediate that gives you more value and more reason to do it. I like it. I think it's probably a 3 still. With an upside.
I don't think it gets better than that. No.
And then in Arena, it's probably a 2 because it's under.
It's a 5 mana 4/4 most of the time,
and that's not going to be great.
Right.
Okay, next one here is Candle Breath, 6 mana common spell. Draw 3 cards, cost 3 less while you're holding a dragon. So this is not one of those dragon spells that is great without the effect, because I mean, I guess it's not awful because Sprint is 7 mana and gives you 4 cards, but. Do we have something to compare this to? I guess Nourish gives you 3 cards at 5 mana, it's 6 mana now.
6 mana now. Yeah.
So actually, I guess it's not awful. There's just better ways to draw cards in Rogue. Now for 3 mana, you're really talking, because you're basically getting a unnerfed prep. So I know Bodicus on Coin Concede is just loving this, loving the idea of it. Dragon Rogue, we haven't brought that up at all. Is it going to be a thing?
I mean, Waxadread's the only one.
Waxadread is like one, yeah.
But other than that, there isn't any. And so you're playing like the neutral dragons. Is that good enough? I'm not seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could play maybe like Cobalt Spellskin, that's just a 5 mana 3/5, I think, that gives you 2 1-cost spells from your deck. Maybe that's what you're playing. But like, you have to run, generally on average, you have to run about 7 dragons to be able to guarantee these effects are going to go off. And I don't see you cobbling together 7 dragons you're going to want to run in Rogue to hold that in your hand. So you're talking about a slightly worse Sprint, and you don't play Sprint, so I don't see why you play this.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you on that. I'm thinking maybe a 2.
2 was my instinct, so I'm happy to go with a 2.
Let's do that then. And in Arena,
and same thing with Arena.
I mean, drawing cards is powerful in Arena. Like, I would say this is probably a 3 there.
Okay, I can go up to a 3
Like
for
if you have a
that's
dragon,
That's fair.
fine. But if it's on par with everything else, or with Nourish and other examples, then yeah, I'll take it sometimes.
You might even
Especially,
be more likely to get a dragon in
yeah,
arena because
you will be
you'll
now.
be
Yeah,
drafting them. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Um, Praise Galakron's a 1 mana spell. Give a minion +1 attack. Invoke Galakron. Wow, I needed to stay awake through reading that card. Like 1 mana, give a minion +1 attack. Add a lackey to your hand. So first of all, you need to have a target for this. So you're not playing this on one,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like the most boring card I've ever seen
Yeah.
in printed in a class, like in a long time.
I mean, the only, like, honestly, reprint this card. 1 mana, draw a lackey.
Yeah.
That's fine, I guess. Like, I'll play that if I'm playing Galakron for
In
that.
Warlock, if you're paying 1 mana, you're discovering the lackey.
Yes, but I can also
And Priest is
combo
getting
this.
that card for 0.
I can also combo this in the class, so that's the benefit of
Yeah.
having just a cheap spell. Like the give a minion
If you
plus
have
1
a
attack
minion on board.
is practically a gust of wind that drapes through your hair. I don't know. It's
Like, it's, I mean, again, this is why I'm down on the Galakron, because it's like, you have to play this, probably, and you probably need to play Seal Fate, or at least like one of each, or something, to get that to happen, and gosh, those are going to feel bad when you're top decking them.
I'm thinking it's a 2 because
Yeah.
I think this is the one that has a chance. It's not because of the effect, it's just because it invokes, honestly. And
Yeah,
because it
and
combos
it gives you a
well with other
lackey,
cards.
but
Yeah.
But you still have to have a target, so it's even worse than that.
That's
So you might have to play that on your opponent's minion sometime, which is gonna feel real bad.
You're gonna have minions, I think. I mean, Rogue finds a way, right?
Well, usually, yeah.
All right, and the final Rogue card is Bloodsail Flybooter, a 1 mana 1/1 pirate. Battlecry, add 2 1/1 pirates to your hand. So you get 3 mana, 3/3 value. You can play this on 1, and it feels very much like Acorn Bearer to me, except for you're immediately getting them into your hand.
It feels like Firefly to me.
Yeah, and it very much feels like Firefly as far as just getting something on the board. I mean, you played Firefly in Rogue because it would combo with other stuff, and you had another cheap minion. So, you get those 2 pirates in your hand. Maybe you dagger up the next turn. You're playing something else on turn 3, 4, or 5. You can get a 6/6 Edwin just from playing those cards. So it seems like it's got a lot of upside, even though it's not really an inherently cool card. There's a lot of implications to it. I think that it's pretty strong.
Yeah. And we got a bunch of pirates in this set, so you could probably build some sort of another pirate rogue. So yeah, it's probably a 4, just because it's like you're playing Pharaoh Cat right now. Is this better than Pharaoh Cat? In a lot of decks, it probably is.
Yeah, I would think so.
So yeah, I think that's probably a 4. And in Arena, it's probably fine as a 1-drop.
I think it's a 4 there too. Like you have less of a chance of being able to take advantage of it, but still, like, just having 3 minions on the board is fine, even though they're 1/1s.
Yeah. All right, so that's 2 classes down, an hour and a half in.
Goodness, we got to keep going, man.
We'll pick up the pace a little bit. So we'll move on to Shaman. So we have Galakron the Tempest, which is Battle Cry, summon 2/2 storms with Rush. The hero power is summon a 2/1 elemental with Rush, and I believe the Battle Cry scales to 2 4/4 storms and then 2 8/8 storms.
That's right.
Am I remembering that correctly?
You're right.
So, gosh, that's a lot of stats.
It is.
And there's a lot you can do with that, and there's a lot of good invokes in Shaman, and just being able to generate rushing minions on demand, especially with those invokes, is a pretty big deal. Like that's pretty, especially when you're looking at replacing Totem Up. Like that's an upgrade. That's a big upgrade.
Right. I think it's fine. It's tough because it's not like there's nothing about this that screams to me like super powerful, except for the fact that you're dealing damage. Like Rush minions, it's like, okay, they can attack something on the board, but when you've got 2 8/8s with Rush, good lord, like, I mean, your opponent could have 2 dinky 0/2 taunts and then whatever. But I think more often than not, you're going to be able to value trade them into 1 or more things. Your opponent may not be able to deal with them the next turn, and then boom, you're going face for 16. So So this is again an unsexy card in my opinion, but probably really really strong and one of the stronger Galakrons that we've got here.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know if it's a 5. It's definitely a 4.
I would go 5 honestly
Okay,
because
we can go 5.
like
We can go 5.
and the fact that all of your invoke cards are going to allow you to deal 2 damage on the board immediately. That's really strong. Like you don't really care that they're elementals. I guess maybe you're playing that given elemental +2/+2.
Yeah.
And that's great. If you've got an extra 2 mana and you can just throw that on that elemental, get a random elemental in your hand and deal 4 damage instead, that's kind of insane actually. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a 5, even though at first I was like, oh, that's kind of boring. It's really strong.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Next one is Nidhogg, 6 mana 5/5 dragon, battle cry, summon 2/0/3 eggs. Next turn, they hatch into 4/4 drakes with rush. So be careful. These are not Nerubian eggs where if they die, they summon those drakes. They have to survive for a turn in order for it to work. And honestly, I've been scratching my head, Steve, on this one for a while. I'm just pretty skeptical that your opponent's going to allow you to keep those 0/3s. If they live, you get insane value out of this card. So it's really good in that scenario. I just don't like having to literally put my eggs in my opponent's basket and hope that they don't kill these things.
I mean, so a couple things. First of all, you can play this in Quest Shaman. That makes 4 eggs.
Yeah, okay.
That requires a board clear to deal with most of the time.
Hellfire, sure.
You can play this in Token Shaman where you're just, again, building boards. It doesn't matter what you play. They're going to need to clear it anyway because you just bloodlust them. Mm-hmm. Now, these are actually a little bit worse in that scenario because they actually can't go face if they live.
Right.
But they can clear things out of the way that can go face. And you can mutate them and whatnot too.
Well, and actually, you can combo this with Soul of the Murloc. And then
you super can.
I think the way it goes is those things will die. They'll spawn 4/4 drakes, and you'll get the 1/1 Murloc.
Right. And this is again, Mogu Flesh Shaper is still a card.
Yeah.
So this is pay 6 mana, discount your Mogu Flesh Shaper by 3. I think there are applications here. It's not a super broken card, which is great given the meta we just got out of.
Yeah, we don't need more crazy shaman cards.
But I think there are some creative ways to use this, and I think it may surprise some people.
Okay.
I'm willing to go up to I'm willing to come down to a 3. I had it a 4, but I could see meeting in the middle of a 3 because I know you have this as a 2. And...
Yeah. I would meet you on 3.
Okay.
Because I mean, the times that it works, it's going to be great. To me, that's just a classic not good card, though. If you're just hoping that it's going to work, and unless we have a way to make your minions immune, which, good lord, we don't need that. Then I just I don't know. I
mean, one other thing that's relevant is Shudderwalk will recast this battle cry, and that gives you minions on board for all of the lackeys that target minions.
Yeah.
Right. So there are reasons to use it, but I'm having to justify it pretty hard. So that basically means a 3.
Okay.
If I'm having to talk you into it that hard, it's probably a 3.
Yes. Yeah. 3 is definitely the middle ground here.
Yeah. On the other hand, we have Bandersmash.
Oh, good lord.
Which is a 5 mana 5/5. Each turn this is in your hand, transform it into a 5/5 copy of a random legendary minion. Just go away. Just no. Like, there are use cases for this. Yes, occasionally.
What are the use cases?
You're going to get a Deathwing when you need it. You're going to get, I don't know, an Archmage Antonidas.
Hyreek the Bat is the best thing that I think that you can get from this.
I mean, I could see playing like an Overload Shaman, getting an Archmage Antonidas, and then throwing a couple of zaps down, right? Like, things will happen. You will see Trollden videos. It will happen. I don't think it's worth running in your deck for that, because there's a lot of bad legendary minions, and not only do you need to wait for it to turn into a good legendary minion, you need to wait for it to turn into a good legendary minion that is good on the turn that you play it.
Right.
And by the way, that's also locking out whatever else you had planned for that turn, because you're spending half your mana on this now where you weren't planning to.
And that's why Chameleos hasn't worked yet, because it is hard to
fit. Or Shifter's Eris,
because it's hard to fit that stuff in here. I just want to say real quick, I felt really bad for Tice because he was the one who revealed this card. I had to go watch his reveal video because I'm like, am I missing something? And he was put in an impossibly difficult situation because he's supposed to reveal this card and talk about how it's exciting and stuff. And I don't even remember what he said, but I was just like, bro, no, this thing is trash.
Poor guy, yeah.
This
They
thing
needed
is
to give that to a meme streamer,
yes,
than
exactly.
not him.
He's a great player, so that didn't seem like a right fit. I honestly think this is a straight up 0.
I'm okay with that. I mean, in Arena, it's probably better than a lot of legendaries you're going to draft.
There are some times where it'll be the right pick, and you'll get something that's okay, and you'll be perfectly fine with that. So I think a 2 is fine.
Yeah, that's fine there. Yeah.
Okay. Next one here is Cumulo Maximus, 5 mana, 5/5 elemental, epic minion, battle cry. If you have overloaded mana crystals, deal 5 damage. Everyone's been saying that aggro decks are going to love this, and there's a good chance that they could. Quest Shaman especially can deal 10 damage now. Holy cow. I think that this is actually going to find its way into some interesting overload decks too, though, or overload or control shaman decks, because dealing 5 damage to anything on the board is a really good control mechanic too. So yes, this can go face. Yes, it will go face, but I think that this is a more flexible card than it looks like at first glance.
Yeah, and again, let's not make the mistake that we made with Lickum. This is either on the turn that you play the overload card, or the next turn when when the crystals are locked.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunities to use something like this. And again, Quest Shaman already runs Sludge Slurper. It already runs Sandstorm Elemental. It is not hard to get a locked mana crystal to be able to double that battle cry.
Yeah.
I think this is a scary, scary card, and it's going to get almost every shaman deck is going to find a way to use this. And if you run any overload cards, any like reasonable number of overload cards, you're going to play this card.
Which, let's be real, they all do. So
yeah. And there's a lot of 5s on this card, and I'm putting one more in the column next to it.
I'm putting 2 more next to it because I think in Arena, like
even in Arena,
you're probably gonna have some overload cards, and in that case,
and even if you don't, it's a 5 mana 5.
Exactly, yeah. So it earns its stripes for sure.
Yeah. So Dragon's Pack is a 5 mana epic spell. Summon 2/3 Spirit Wolves with taunt. So those would be the same wolves from Feral Spirit. So they're not beasts. If you've invoked twice, give them +3/+3. So that would be, I did the math. That's 2, 5, 6 for 5 mana. You're going to invoke twice, probably, if you're playing. I mean, obviously you're playing invoke cards. You're playing this. If you're playing this, which means that you're going to have probably cleared the board and you're getting 2, 5, 6s. The only thing that I don't like about this card, and that has me not putting it at a 5, because it's clear why it's powerful, is what deck is it going in? Because it's probably not going in Quest Shaman, because, well, you're probably not running this in Quest Shaman anyway, because you don't want to be invoking and then wiping out the hero power.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So you're not running this in Quest Shaman. This seems too slow for an overload aggro shaman. And maybe this is a control shaman card, but how many overload cards are you or I mean, I guess if you're running this in like some sort of a control Galakron deck, but then you probably want to be running Hagatha. So I don't know if that's the right place for this, but it's just the only part that's weird about this is what kind of a deck do you put this in, and I can't come up with a good answer to that.
Well, I mean, the answer is just, what does a Galakron Shaman deck look like? And I think it's more control E, but I think it could also just have some mid-game strategies. You might even run just one Bloodlust, because you're making so many tokens as you go across the source of the game, that at some point you may have enough things on the board that you can just overwhelm them. And this is great for that. It gives you 2 huge minions. I mean, the thing that came to mind for me with this is that it's like Tomb Warden after getting upgraded by our Armageddillo. So like that is just a good card to play. And it asks a little bit less, I think, because you're hopefully invoking along the way. You really don't want to play it unless you've invoked twice, though. So I think it fits in that strategy because I think Galakron just wants to overwhelm with not infinite value, but just so many minions that they keep on having to get rid of, and you just keep buffing them up. And this is a great further example of that.
I mean, you don't put it in a deck where you're not invoking, but you might play it if you haven't invoked twice. Because I mean, if you think about it, this is the same cost as Feral Spirit. You're just paying it all at once.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think about that.
Because like Feral Spirit is 3 mana overload too. You're paying the 5 mana for the two wolves. So it's not the worst thing in the world. I still think that a Galakron deck is kind of the new version of Token Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
Does this fit here? Maybe, yeah. Because I mean, you're building, and I'm thinking like you're generating a lot of tokens that you're rushing in to clear the way for your other things. Maybe you're cutting the overload package for this. I don't know.
In aggressive meta, you'll play this just to soak up a
Yeah,
bunch of damage. But it may be one of the cards that you cut, to your point, because
yeah,
there may be
it's
better ways to
expensive.
generate. I think it's a 4 still. I think it's
Yeah,
going to
I
be
think so too.
pretty good in that deck, but it isn't core to the strategy, I don't think.
Agreed. Yeah.
Next one here is Lightning Breath, 3 mana rare spell, deal 4 damage to a minion. If you're holding a dragon, also damage its neighbors. So Zentimo is no longer necessary because we've got Lightning Breath. This is some good removal if you've got the dragon, obviously. The thing I kept thinking in my mind is, am I going to play Lightning Storm or am I going to play this? I can play both, obviously, but that seems like a lot of removal at the 3 mana spot. And in my mind, I'd rather have the Lightning Storm, which can get a wider board if need be, rather than be so focused on just 3 minions. So it's a good card, but I keep thinking, I don't know that I'm really going to want this. What have you been thinking on this, Steve?
I mean, it's meta dependent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're playing against, say, Tempo Warrior, this is probably better. If you're playing against Zoo, then Lightning Storm is better.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So either way, I think it has a merit. It's going to depend on what the meta looks like, and it depends on if you're running dragons. I mean, you're probably running Squall Hunter, which we'll talk about in a minute. If you're playing anything that's thinking about running this,
sure.
You might make a dragon focused quest shaman. That's a potential.
Mm-hmm.
People have already tried running things like Twilight Drake, and there are other battle cries that would make sense. Especially if you're able to run the one that transforms a minion into a copy of this and gives it rush. So that's a thing that you can do with because that was something that we used to do with Shutterwalk is try to make copies of it, and that's a thing we can do again. I think that there's a place for this. It's probably a 4. It's just a matter of are there enough dragons to support it? There probably are.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, and I think that especially Shaman, there are some shenanigans you can pull with dragons, especially the class one that we'll talk a little bit later. In Arena, it's probably still a 4, especially with all the dragons in Arena right now. This would be a snap pick
even
for
if
me.
not, like 3 mana do 4 damage to a minion is fine.
It could be worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 4s across the board there.
Yeah. So Storm's Wrath is 1 mana, overload 1, get 1 mana rare spell, overload 1, give your minions +1/+1. Well, if you're playing Token Shaman, there you go.
I mean, it's Power of the Wild
and
divided
that's a
up into
permanent
2 turns.
+1/+1, not
Right.
like until the end of the turn. So this is effectively, what was that card in Druid? Not Blessing of the Ancients, but the one we had before that was from Mean Streets.
Mark of the Lotus.
Yeah. That's this with overload, but that's fine because if you're playing if you have a what the hell now? Oh man, I'm blanking hard. The 4 mana 3/6
for Shaman.
Yeah, the one that gives you 2/1/1s whenever you overload.
Oh, Thunderhead.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's insane with this. Good lord.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it super is, right? So because you get the buff on those after that.
Mm-hmm.
It overloads, it plays the minions, and then you get that. So there's a lot of ways you can abuse this, and you generally want to be going wide and buffing your board. So this is a 5. Yeah. You'll play it in that deck every time.
Yeah, and in Arena, I think it's probably a 4. There's a good chance you could get value off of this, but you're not guaranteed all those little tokens that you want to get. Okay, next one here, Corrupt Elementalist, 5 mana 3/3 Battlecry, invoke Galakron twice. I might be wrong, but I think this is the only single card that invokes 2 times.
I believe you're correct.
Which is pretty significant. So you're going to immediately upgrade your Galakron, which you have to invoke twice in order to do that, and you're going to summon 2/2/1. Is it 2/1 elementals, or is it?
I believe it is. Yeah, I think there's 2 1s.
Okay. So this is a 5 mana 3/3 with 2/2/1. So it's like a Thunderhead that is self-contained essentially. I think this is one of the strongest invoke cards that we've seen, and it's in part due to the fact that the hero power is so strong. Just getting those. I mean, if you combo this with Storm's Wrath, then you've got a 4/4 and 2/3/2s with Rush. And if you've got anything else on the board, that's upside 2. I think I think it's pretty
Yeah.
simple why this card's good, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of stats. It looks underwhelming
Mm-hmm.
until you factor in the extra 4/2 of stats that you're going to be generating.
Right.
And it's a 5 mana 7/5.
Gosh.
So
And-
I would take a 5 mana 7/5,
Yeah.
and half of it has rush.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's a 5
I think
necessarily.
it
I think
is.
it's probably okay.
I think it is.
Okay. You convinced me.
Had to do a lot of convincing on that one.
Yes. So Invocation of Frost is a 1 mana spell, common spell, freeze an enemy, invoke Galakron. So I was very low on this until I was talking to Ridiculous Hat right before the show, and he basically said, "Well, I like Glacial Shard," and when you look at it like that,
oh gosh,
where
yeah,
this is Glacial Shard with Rush, that also happens to upgrade your Galakron,
or Ray of Frost without the twin spell and with the 2/1 instead.
Well, Glacial Shard specifically summons a 2/1
Yeah.
and freezes an enemy, and this happens to have Rush.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about it like that, that's kind of nuts.
It's really good, yeah.
So I'm willing to go up to a 4 on this one just because of that. I think that I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah.
It's why it's really important to consider the hero power that you're getting when you're invoking, but that makes a huge difference when you're looking at this.
So you and I are both thinking 4s because we were thinking lower than that prior to the Glacial Shard comparison.
Yes.
But if you just think about the Glacial Shard comparison, it's probably
still a 4.
I don't know, man. I mean, Glacial Shard's a 5, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just saying.
Glacial Shard can't get counterspelled.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a small consideration.
That is a really
okay. I'll go
far
to.
stretch.
I mean, I'll go to a 5.
It feels weird giving a free shaman card a 5, but honestly, like that's the right comparison, and because that's
if
exactly
only
what
Murabi
this
was
does.
alive to see this day.
I'm gonna play some wild just so I can play free shaman. Freeze Galakron.
I mean, maybe it's finally viable in wild. Who knows?
Just this card alone.
Galakron Murabi Shaman. Let's go.
All right, next one is Surging Tempest, a 1 mana 1/3 elemental, has +1 attack while you have overloaded mana crystals. So it feels like it should be Tunnel Troggy unless you realize the best it can be is a 2/3, which means it's more along the lines of Warbot, which is a very old card. Yeah, I don't. It's a stretch to say that you would want to play this. I mean, 1 mana 1/3s are always worth considering. But like Warbot's a perfect example where that just did nothing as a 1/3 because there weren't any huge bonus effects like there are with other cards. So I don't know that this is the elemental you really want on turn 1.
I mean, if you're playing a token shaman, right? You need early game. What else are you like? Your alternatives are not that it's bad, but is Sludge Slurper. That's what you're playing on 1, and that's all you're playing on 1.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, if you play this into Sludge Slurper, you go this into Sludge Slurper into Lackey, that's a pretty good turn 1.
Yeah,
too.
That's not bad.
I'm not saying it's exciting. I just don't think it's trash.
No, that's a really fair point. I mean, you get a Titanic Lackey, and you put that health on this Tempest. It can just soak up a lot of damage and be something your opponent has to deal with. So, yeah, I would go up to a 3 on it. It's fine.
I wouldn't go higher than that, but it's probably a 3. And I mean, in Arena, 1 mana 1/3 is fine too. So it's probably a 3.
Yeah, good.
And Squall Hunter is ridiculous.
Even though he doesn't have a hat. He almost looks like a unicorn the way the lightning's
playing.
It does.
I was thinking it looked like a very pretty pony. So it's a 4 mana 5/7 dragon, overload 2, spell damage +2. So it's not a 4 mana 7/7, it's a 4 mana 5/7, but it's also got spell damage +2. And that's kind of a big deal, especially in an overload shaman that might just want to burn their opponent out with lightning bolts and lava bursts.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems really good. I mean, the Overload 2 is a lot. Overload 2 is a lot. Don't get me wrong. But you're getting, we played Flame Wreath Faceless without any sort of a spell damage or anything like that. Right. And it didn't activate any dragon effects. I don't know that this is a 5, but it's definitely a 4 at least.
I think it is, honestly. As a 5/7, it's perfectly fine. The dragon tag is going to help you. And I mean, combo this with that Breath, what was it? Breath of Lightning? Was that the name of the card? Lightning Breath.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you've got another dragon in your hand, I mean, then you're dealing 6 damage to 3 minions?
Yeah, or even if you're just playing this and then dealing 6 damage to 1 minion, that's fine.
Sure. Yeah. I think that you're likely to play this in some aggressive strategies though. something.
In aggressive strategies, I think this is a control card,
You
honestly.
do? Well, it can fit
Yeah.
either, honest. So I think this is the high end of an aggressive deck because of the potential with
Yeah.
burst. Like you play this with lava burst, that's a ton of overload
Yeah,
for
that
one
I mean
turn.
it goes in both really.
But
It's
yeah,
either way.
I think
But I
it's a
mean that's a
five.
big body for four
I
mana.
don't know what more you're asking of this card essentially. Like and those are the
Yeah.
cards I just kind of have to go with fives on.
Right. And then you're gonna activate your Lickum,
Mm-hmm.
and you potentially set up Cumula Maximus. Excuse me,
Oh
Cumula
yeah.
Maximus.
Or if you've
And
got
yeah,
Thunderhead online, you got 2/1/1s. Like yeah, I
like
think it's fives across the board. Honestly, in arena,
yeah,
it's so much tempo
it's
that it
fine.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
I mean it comes down early and it just does I mean even if you top deck it, it's fine. And like and if you top deck it late, the overload doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's funny because we've come a long way where I was very down on overload synergies and
Mm-hmm.
we've finally gotten there.
Yeah.
And but it's taken like a critical mass of things to get there.
Yeah. Well, you're here now. That's what matters.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Okay, well, let's move on to Warlock. We're actually not doing terrible on time now.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
probably hit our normal 3 hour stretch, I think. Galakrond the Wretched is a 7 mana 5 armor as always. Battlecry summon 1 random demon. Upgraded its Battlecry summon 2 random demons, and upgraded twice its Battlecry summon 4 random demons. And I need to pull up the name of the hero power, but it summons 2/1/1 demons, right? Is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, this is just creating a lot of demons. It's interesting because as we've talked about demon cards over the past year, there's been like a missing piece, Galakron's Malice. I just like the creativity behind all these names. There's been a missing piece that gets you a lot of imps on the board, and this obviously will do that. Your opponent has to keep dealing with these small guys. There's just not a lot of ways to upgrade your 1/1 imps. You've got Inferno, I think, that gives them all +1
I think
attack,
so.
but that's it, I think.
You've got
So
cards like Plague of Flames that you can take advantage
yeah,
of.
yeah.
You've got things that you could use Cult Masters to draw. Well, not that you really need to draw on Warlock, but you could do
Right.
that.
It feels very Warlock-y because the other option is
Yeah.
that you're sacrificing all these little imps in order to do something also. The battle cry here, too, is just really unreliable. You get something like Fellord Betrug, that could be good. But you could also, I don't know what the worst case scenario here is.
Yeah, I mean, well, thankfully, what's his face? The Apothecary isn't in standard anymore.
Oh yeah, that unlicensed apothecary, because that would be
Yeah.
real bad with that hero power. So I don't know.
Right.
I'm not hyped about this one. This is probably my the Galakron I'm least excited about, because
Yeah.
even with Rogue, at least I think there's some potential there. But with Warlock, I just don't see this being good.
I mean, you know what the plan is. At least it's Zoo. I mean, that's obvious, right?
Yeah, yeah, but Zoo needs bigger minions than 1/1s.
Well, Zoo also just needs things to attack in, and you can use things like
It can, yeah.
like Dire Wolf Alpha, or there's plenty of sacrifice effects like Evil Genius, where you just want butts on board to be able to sacrifice them.
And I guess at that point, you're hoping that this battle cry is similar to Blood Reaver Gul'dan, that just gets you a bigger board.
Yeah.
And sometimes I bet you'll have a board, if you upgrade them fully and you get a really good roll, you could have a board that's similar where it's tough to deal with. But
I mean, I'm not excited about it either. I'm probably on a 3 with it, but I don't think it's trash.
No, it's not trash. It's probably the one I just really struggle to say. I don't know how good this one is. And all the other ones, I think I can see merits where they're really strong. This one,
yeah. I'm not super excited. I'm not super excited about it for sure.
Yeah, I'm good with the 3 on that.
Okay. So we go on to Zeraku the Warped.
Zuzaraku.
Yeah, which is a 8-mana 4/12 dragon. Whenever your hero takes damage, summon a 6/6 Nether Drake. So,
buddy,
that's kind of a broken effect.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's also an 8-mana 4/12 that doesn't have taunt and doesn't affect the board. So,
are you sure about that?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Am I sure about that?
It only doesn't have taunt if your opponent has lethal or is really close to lethal. Like otherwise, they really need to deal with this effect as soon as possible, right?
Right, but it again, it doesn't save you, right? Like if they do have lethal, this doesn't do anything. If they don't have lethal, this is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that you can play, and there are, there's ways to discount it. There are, other things that can happen where you can get this down. This is basically your end game as a control warlock for the most part, and it's a pretty nutso
That's
effect.
insane.
And because I mean, at a minimum, on 10 mana, you can just hero power, and you've got a 4/12 and a 6/6. You have to not die, but you won't die every time. And the times that you don't, you're probably going to be in a pretty good position.
Does Warlock have any reliable lifesteal effects right now?
It's getting one. It's
Okay.
getting one that's a dragon. That's a dragon synergy.
Okay. Because I think that's the big thing
And
that's.
you've got the what's her face, the demon that you draw that heals you when you draw her.
Oh yeah, Aranasi Broodmother.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I guess with those things there's potential because like Control Warlock really needs those effects that are reliable and can get you health back. Because you're right, this is a late game bomb that is going to really shake things up. I think it's fives across the board because like
Yeah.
there's just no reason to not play this in that style deck.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's winning the game pretty quickly after you play this card. It may not be
Yes.
you all the time, but somebody's winning the game.
You
Yeah,
you
I
could
would.
you could not have dragons in your deck and you'd still want this in your deck if it's a control
Right.
style warlock. And
Yeah.
with dragons it's going to be even better. So
I'm gonna go. I kind of want to give it a 4, but I'll come up to a 5 because I'm still a little bit worried about how often you are going to be able to reliably drop it. But it may be that you can drop it more often because if your opponent's going to start hitting you in the face and they're not killing you, that's a lot of damage they're looking at the other way.
yeah,
So yeah,
I think it's
I
along the
can get
lines
there.
of Ysera, honestly, where it's like
Yeah.
in my mind Ysera is a 5. It's not going to stop your opponent if they're aggressive, but like what the card does is so powerful, and
Right.
I think this one's very similar.
Well, I mean, that's where I'm at a 4 with Ysera because Ysera doesn't get played in a lot of decks because she is that slow, right? So
Okay.
yeah, but I can go up to a 5 on this one because I
Okay.
think that it's you have to kill it or you need to kill your opponent immediately or else you're going to be facing down a ton of damage.
Right.
Just because you have ways built into the class to damage yourself, but you're probably not playing this in Galakron deck, A, because it's way too slow for that, and B, because you want to have life tap available to you.
Yeah, that's a good point. We got Veiled Worshipper up next, 4 mana, 5/4 epic minion battle cry. If you've invoked twice, draw 3 cards. So drawing 3 cards on a fairly statted minion is insane, but I'm still struggling to see this as a card that you want to play. I mean, because your hero power already helps you draw
Yeah.
cards. So like Warlock's not needing a sprint-like effect or a miracle effect because they've got it built into their ecosystem already.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem, right? It's like this would be ridiculous in any other class. In Warlock, you call that Tuesday. So I'm not seeing the invitation to invoke
Yeah.
with this card. So yeah, it's probably like a 2. It's
Crazy
fine.
that it's a 2, but I think you're
Yeah.
right, honestly.
Yeah, it's fine, but I'm not getting excited about it.
Yeah.
Dark Skies is a 3 mana epic spell. Deal 1 damage to a random minion. Repeat for each card in your hand. So we're getting a bunch of hand-sized synergies in this set.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an early board clear that can do a lot of damage to an early board, especially if you're spending your first couple turns tapping. And even late, it removes divine shields. And if you can plan around the even-sidedness of it. And unlike Hellfire, it doesn't hurt your face.
Right. If you have anything on board, it's not good, but I think that like Handlock needs ways to combat the aggressive strategies because they're going to be dealing damage to themselves already. So something like this is pretty perfect outside of actually this comes before like the Mountain Giant and Shields Up, Sun Fury Protector. So this is a pretty cool, reliable effect that they're going to want to have because they're going to have cards in their hand. And even late game, as long as you can manipulate the board the right way, this could help you to get ahead and just clear, like you can trade stuff on the board and then use the rest of it to clear off the rest of the draft. So I think it's at least a 4.
I think so. I
4
think it's a
seems
4.
right.
Yeah. In arena, it's probably a 3. It's still a board clear.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right, next one is Dragon Blight Cultist, 3 mana, 1/1, Battlecry, Invoke Galakrond, gain +1 attack for each other friendly minion. So because you're invoking, you're summoning 2 1/1 imps, so this is at least a 3 mana 3/1, and then any other friendly minions you have, it'll gain. I mean, the tough thing is that 1 health is just so easy to deal with. Like, more than half of the hero powers, I think. Well, no, probably not. But
About
like,
half, yeah.
at least the tokens that are generated from them can deal with this immediately. So I couldn't be less excited about this one.
Like, again, this is a bad invoke card that you're going to need to run for Galakrond, which says, and I don't even know why you want to run Galakrond, so I'm still not getting inspired.
Again, the neutral cards. Like, I'm just going to run the neutral invoke cards over this. I think it's a 1.
Yeah, I think it's a 1 also. I think it's just like, it dies so easily, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Other than the fact you're invoking, and there are better ways to do that.
Yep.
Crazed Netherwing is a 5 mana 5/5 battle cry. If you're holding a dragon, deal 3 damage to all other characters. So we've seen this movie before. It was called Duskbreaker, and we know how it ends.
I'm thinking
of
Abyssal Enforcer. That was a 7 mana 6/6 that had the same effect, just no stipulation to it.
Right, and it's, again, it does do face damage, but it also does face damage to you. It's also a 5 mana 5/5 as opposed to a 4 mana 3/3.
Right.
If you're playing dragons, again, if you're playing Handlock, you're playing Twilight Drakes for starters, and you're probably playing like Big Ol' Whelp and other things that are going to get you more cards.
Sure.
This is a no-brainer. We know Duskbreaker is good. This is 1 turn later, but I don't think it's 1 turn less relevant.
By the way, Abyssal Enforcer got banned from Arena because it was so good. So as long as they're dragons, it's a 5. It may be a 4, like in the instances where it's not supported as well, but I still
in this meta that's coming up, it's going to be a 5
for sure. Now put it as a 5, yeah, because even if it's just a 5 mana 5/5, that's fine. So cool. Nether Breath is a 2 mana rare spell. Deal 2 damage. If you're holding a dragon, deal 4 damage with Lifesteal instead. So this is the Lifesteal mechanic that they've been waiting for. I mean, Dark Bomb was good enough on its own, but dealing 4 damage with Lifesteal, that's insane.
And it goes face.
How is this not 5? Like,
it is. It easily is.
Maybe the easiest 5 that we've talked about so far.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing any dragons, you're playing this card, and it is like, the reason that slow warlocks have been so bad for the last year is because they never have gotten any sort of a replacement for Spellstone. Because that Spellstone of removal and healing up some of that early damage to take it from tapping is so critical, and this gives it to you.
Yeah.
And so this is the first thing that's really made me feel like the only other thing that would make me feel like we were getting close, if we got something close to Defile. I mean, Godfrey is it, but Godfrey costs 7, like something cheaper than that.
Right.
But getting a replacement for Spellstone is a big deal for a slow warlock. So I think this is a 5. I think this is a reason that slow warlocks are going to be viable.
Well, and I think it's a reason that control warlocks will play and prefer dragons so that they can play this card. So yeah, I think in arena it's probably a 5 too, maybe a 4.
In this arena meta, it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it may not always be. But in this arena meta that's coming up, it will be, because, I mean, even if not, like 2 mana, 2 damage, you sometimes take that.
That's okay, yeah. So yeah, we'll put it as a 5 on both. 3 mana common spell called Fiendish Rites is next. Invoke Galakrond, give your minions +1 attack. So this summons 2/1 imps essentially, which is still not exciting. And
you know what? The ones you summon in Shaman have Rush.
Yeah, I guess like the upside of this one is if you've been invoking Galakrond, then this can be a payoff. But the problem is all those imps have 1 health. Again, they can be dealt with so easily. So maybe there's a swarm the board mechanic. I think if you're playing Galakrond Warlock, you will play this card because it combos well with the strategy of invoking and stuff. So, or
you need to play one of the class invoke cards or the other at least anyway.
You do?
I don't think you can get away without playing either of them. You're just not going to have enough invokes, I don't think.
Oh, that might be right. I can't remember how many neutrals there are. Yeah,
I only saw 2. Maybe there's a third one that I missed, but
maybe. But yeah, this one actually synergizes. So it's like I guess I'm saying it's fine. It's probably like a 3 in my book.
It's probably a 3. A 3 is where I was landing with it too. Okay. So yeah.
Cool.
There's not really a whole lot, like, you know, for once, there's not a whole lot to say about it. So
that's a good thing. We have to embrace those moments and move on.
Yeah. So Abyssal Summoner is a 6 mana 2/2 battle cry. Summon a demon with taunt and stats equal to your hand size. So, hi Handlock.
Heard you were missing a little gnome here.
Yeah, back in my day, we needed to use a Mountain Giant and a Sun Fury Protector to get that. Now you just get it out of a 6 mana 2/2. So, if you're playing Handlock and it seems like they're pushing Handlock in this set.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're playing this card. It's not even close.
You need 4 cards in hand other than this to break even. If you have 5, that's good. If you have, 7 or 8 cards, that's really crazy.
And if you have 10 or 11 or 12,
don't spoil it. But yeah, I think it's probably a 5 in the deck that wants it.
The deck that wants it,
you always play 2 of these in Arena. Man, you top deck this and it's a bummer.
Yeah, but you're tapping if you're playing Arena.
True.
It's probably a 3.
A 3 is fine in my book on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then last one here is Rain of Fire, 1 mana common spell, deal 1 damage to all characters. I just immediately thought of Beakered Lightning and how that wasn't a card at all. I don't think this is ever going to be a card outside of getting it off of Ethereal Lackey.
Beakered Lightning is two mana. It's a 1 mana. It's a 1 mana.
0
spell?
mana. It's 0 mana.
But you pay that mana. You just don't pay it on that turn.
It's either 1 or 2 overload. I think it's 1 overload.
It's definitely it's 2 overload, which is why nobody plays it. So it's 2 mana, deal 1 damage to do damage to the board, but it's just 2 damage in the next turn. This is 1 mana, deal 1 damage, which if there's an aggro meta and you need to wipe out a bunch of 1/1s, or you're playing against somebody who's trying to make Galakron work in Warlock, then this is something you might need to do, right? So yeah. I think it has uses. I don't know how often you're going to want that over a Hellfire.
I would really dig this if I had a card like Spellstone, so that this would combine with something that would get upgraded or something like that. Yeah,
I don't think it's trash. It's underwhelming. I think it's probably a 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd be willing to do a 2. In Arena, it's worth considering, but it's probably still a 2 there. Also, you'll take it every now and then if you really don't have anything, but it's not going to clear the board like you need cards like this too.
Yeah, but sometimes you take Arcane Explosion and you're okay with it, right?
Yeah, I think it's still a 2 though.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Okay. I didn't argue with you.
I want to make sure we're on the same page.
We are, but we got one class left, and we're doing good. We're doing okay on time. And the past times where we've said that, we've ends up being really bad.
So,
yeah. So we'll move on to Warrior. We have Galakron the Unbreakable. Battle Cry, draw 1 minion, give it +4/+4, and that scales to 2 minions and then 4 minions. And the hero power is give your hero +3 attack. So basically give yourself a free weapon swing or improve your weapon swing. And then you're drawing 4 minions and giving them +4/+4 in something like a Tempo Warrior where you're playing Korkrons, you're playing Leroy's, maybe you're playing Grom, and you're playing like Rustless Mummies and Rush minions. Like, that's a big deal. And like, if you think about any time that you've gotten, I mean, you've probably never played Akali in a deck, but whenever you've evolved into an Akali and then drawn a minion out of your deck that got +5/+5, this is not much less than that, and it's a big upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And getting that many stats being able to throw out on board is a big deal, and even just like the hero power, like having face damage on command. I mean, you can ask anyone who played Druid back when Knights of the Frozen Throne was around how good being able to press a hero power button and do 3 face damages.
Yeah, I think this is probably the Galakron I'm actually most excited about. And it's because the hero power just consistently lets you do something immediately. I think a tempo list is fine. I think there are going to be just straight up aggro warriors that are full Galakron too. This is the one Galakron where getting that 5/2 claw and the fully upgraded one really makes a difference and might be just what you need to clinch the game. So whether you're having to clear the board with face or you're going face with face, I care more about that than I do the battle cry. The battle cry is still powerful, but I think it's really the hero power that is the star here. I'm gonna let you choose either a 4 or 5 on this because I could go either way, but
I feel like we've thrown out a lot of 5s.
Okay.
So I feel like I want to give it a 4 just to kind of, because
really?
I feel like All
Yeah,
right, I'm already
actually,
building. I'm already theory crafting a deck around it. So yeah, it's a 5.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah, Shaman and Warlock, actually, we gave quite a few 5s. But we'll kick this one off in the right
I
way.
mean, this is a very powerful set
Yeah,
overall. Like
yeah,
they've
it is.
clearly saved a lot of the powerful cards for the set.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited. Maybe I'll craft this one gold. I don't know, just because I'm feeling
yeah.
a little bit fun. But all right, next one here is Deathwing Mad Aspect, 8 mana, 12/12 dragon, battle cry, attack all other minions. So this has been a confusing one for me to think about. I think when I first saw this, I was like, oh, that's a funny effect. That's not going to see any play. And the more I've thought about it, I feel like this is like another board clear for warrior,
Yeah.
essentially. So 12/12 is a ton of stats. And essentially what you're doing is if your opponent has less than 12 attack on their board, you're probably going to clear out everything and you're going to have a 12 attack whatever health minion, which they're going to have to deal with. And they might be like mage might be able to ping it if it has 1 health left. But I think you're playing this mostly just for the effect of having a third brawl or third plague of wrath. Yeah. Or something like that. And especially when like Control Warrior doesn't have Reckless Flurry anymore. I mean, what are they using? Warpath and Brawl are the two.
They're using Warpath, Brawl, and Plague of Wrath usually.
And maybe
and
a Plague of Wrath.
and they're playing Doctor Boom and rushing minions
Yeah.
in that's what their removal is.
But
I mean, Doctor Boom is actually going away pretty soon. So.
Yeah, that's true. I think I would either put this in addition to all of those, or I might play it in place of like a Plague of Wrath or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to have its place. It's just it's a removal card, not a big dragon in my mind.
And it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's an expensive removal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily a reliable removal depending on what your opponent has, but it's still a removal, which probably makes it a 4.
I'll go 4 on it. It's removal like Mass Hysteria though, where similarly you don't know what to expect, but I think it's going to work out in your favor more often than not.
Yeah, I think so.
So 4 sounds good. And in Arena, I think I might actually give it a 5 there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a board clear that's also could leave a body behind. It
Yeah.
probably will leave a body behind a lot. So that probably is a 5, yeah.
Yep.
And it's going to be better on average than most legendaries you're going to pick.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's just going to be a bummer if you have to play this on a board of your own. But,
you just can't do that. Is there any way they could force it out of your hand and trigger the battle cry? I don't think so.
Not force you to play it. It would be summoned.
Okay.
So the other legendary is a legendary weapon, 3 mana, 2/3 Ankar. After your hero attacks, draw a pirate from your deck. So we are seeing a bunch of pirate synergies. Drawing a card. I mean, being able to draw 3 cards off of this thing is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter what they are. And the fact that they're pirates and they're probably going to have weapon synergies that you can get a Captain Greenskin and get another draw off this. You can, get like a Bloodsail Raider and have it be a 4/3, like those types of things. So, I mean, in a pirate deck, you're going to run this, and it's probably going to perform for you.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Do we have Forge of Souls isn't in standard
Nope.
anymore, is it?
It is not.
So there's no like real reliable way to get this, but I think it doesn't matter. Like it's just the games where you get it that it's really going to spin out of control quickly and allow you to tutor things that you need. So I think a 4 is right. I might be able to.
Yeah.
I might be willing to go up, but if you're
No, I don't want to go higher than a 4,
Okay.
but I think 4 is probably correct on this one.
okay, sounds good.
And in Arena, it's a 3 mana 2/3 weapon, which is not the worst thing in the world. Weapons are generally better in Arena than they are in Constructed because they give you, it's basically 3 removals. If you have any pirates, it will draw them out. So it's probably a 4, but it's probably a low 4.
Yeah,
in Arena.
I think that's right. Sounds good. Next one here is Scion of Ruin, a 3 mana 3/2 dragon with Rush and Battle Cry. If you've invoked twice, summon 2 copies of this. I heard Restless Mummy was good. How about 3 copies instead of 2?
Yeah, that'll do. I'll take that. And then you get to do that twice, and you can still draw that out of Town Crier. And the only thing is that Restless Mummy is going to be better than this early, and this is going to be better than Restless Mummy late. But I mean, it also can sit in your hand and trigger dragon effect. So, this is a pretty good reason to run a Galakron.
Gosh.
And by the way, Galakron's going to draw this sometimes, and then you're going to have
mercy.
Yeah, you're going to have rushing 7 force.
This
is what you're going to have.
Easy 5. Easy
seven
five.
sixes. Sorry, 3 rushing, 7 sixes.
Good
Yeah.
Lord.
Yep.
Easy 5. Let's move on.
Yeah. Yes. Next is my favorite card for flavor out of this set,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is ramming speed. 3 mana epic spell, force a minion to attack one of its neighbors. So Super Collider is good. This is Super Collider that does not require you to run your face into something. And does not care about taunts. So that seems pretty good. I mean, it's a removal that Control Warrior will want.
Yeah, I felt the same way seeing this as I remember when I saw Super Collider thinking, is this good? I don't know. I mean, I guess it could work if your opponent has a very specific board state, but I learned my lesson with Super Collider. More often than not, there's going to be a good situation, and the fact that I don't have to attack into that Mountain Giant anymore is all the better. So I think it's really solid removal. It's probably 4s across the board.
I think so. Yep.
And did we see this artwork at BlizzCon? Because
we did. Because I was waiting for this card, and they kept it until the reveal. I remember seeing this on the wall at BlizzCon, and I was really excited just because I love the art on this card.
When it was blown up, it was one of the biggest ones on the wall, so you could actually see the drool coming off of this side of her face.
I really wish they were selling a poster of that because I would have bought one. I didn't find anything in the art gallery that I wanted, but I would have bought one of these.
That's a pretty good one. Next one here's Molten Breath, 4 mana rare spell, deal 5 damage to a minion. If you're holding a dragon, gain 5 armor. This is another one of the dragon spells that I'm not hyped about. It just it's okay. It's
fine.
It's doing 2 very separate things. So it is good value, I think, for what it's doing. I mean, like if you compare it to like a fireball, which deals 6 damage, obviously this doesn't go face, but it's around the same damage. And then gaining 5 armor is worth 1 mana. We've learned on bad cards. So yeah, I don't know. It's fine. I just don't think it's ever going to find a place.
I mean, we're not running. What the hell is that? That 4 mana, 4 damage does 6 damage if you're below 15 health or below 10, 12 health, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're not playing that. And that can go face. This can't go face. I mean, this can get you armor if you're playing dragons, but this feels like it's something that's going to get cut pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think it's probably a 2 in standard.
Yeah.
It's better in arena just because it does damage.
And you're going to have dragons, at least for now.
So
I mean, you're going to have dragons in this set, right? So, if this set's in arena, you're going to have dragons. So it's probably a 4 in arena.
I would give it a 3 just because, again, the armor doesn't do much.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is it really helping you? I don't know.
You're removing a minion and healing, but yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I mean, I think of it like Penance, right?
Sure.
Penance is a good card because you're doing 3 damage and you're healing 3. And this is kind of you're kind of adding to all the numbers on Penance.
Sounds good.
In constructed, you don't care. In arena, it's probably a little bit better. Is this one mine?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, Sky Barge is a 3 mana 2/5 mech. After you summon a pirate, deal 2 damage to a random enemy. So, once upon a time, there was a card called Ship's Cannon, which was a 2 mana 2/3 that had the same effect, and that generally died until we got a critical mass of pirates, and then it became a freaking terror in Wild.
Yeah.
And 2/5 is a lot of health.
It's a solid body.
Because you know what else was a 5 health minion that cost 3 mana? Was Evil Miscreant, and they had to nerf that because that was too good. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that your opponent's going to want to kill, and they're going to have a hard time doing it. And it's probably going to get a couple of procs, and you've got cards that are pirates in this set, and you got a card that will draw you pirates, and this can get out of control in a hurry. This seems like a really strong and a really scary card.
Do you run any magnetizing mechs in a pirate warrior? Just for this card?
Ziliax. You probably run Ziliax.
Oh, Ziliax easily, yeah.
You might run War Gear.
Yeah, War Gear could work. Even a Noya module,
Replicating Menace, maybe?
Yeah.
Noya module's a paladin.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Battlegrounds has destroyed me for that. There's not much more I can add to this. It was a solid effect with the massive amount of pirates, and I think we've got enough that Pirate Warrior makes sense here now. So I think it's a 5 in standard for sure. And
I think so.
In arena, you'll take it.
It's a 4. It's a good body for 3 mana.
Why not? Next one here is Ritual Choppa. Get to the Ritual Choppa, 2-mana 1/2, Battlecry, invoke Galakrond. So, because you're invoking, you'll get 3 attack in addition to the 1 attack. So the first swing of this essentially is 4 damage, and then the next one will be 1, which is good. I mean, like a 2-mana 1/2 weapon is not exciting, but with the invoke effect, it makes sense. If you upgrade this at all, it can get a little bit nutty pretty quick. And
you can still invoke again and get the extra attack. Like you don't have to attack with the next turn.
Yeah, I think,
or you can attack with the next turn if you get the invoke. So you don't have to, use the other swing of it. You can just wait, right? So
I think it just really makes sense with the invoke mechanics that it's gonna spiral out of control. And it's weird to say that about a 1/2 weapon. Like, what? This isn't supposed to do anything. But I think
this is better than Fiery War Axe on the turn you play it. Like under Fiery War Axe.
Yep. So I think, well, is it a 4 or 5? I mean, it might be a 5.
I think it's a 4.
Okay.
I think it's still,
I'm getting a little too crazy with the 5, so I'll calm down.
Not every card. If every card is a 5, then no card is a 5.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah. So Evil Quartermaster is 3 mana common 2/3 Battlecry. Add a lackey to your hand, gain 3 armor. Warrior needs more lackey generation. This is fine. It's not exciting, but if you want lackeys, you'll play this.
Yeah. I don't know where it really fits.
I don't know where it fits either. Because it's not a tempo warrior card. It's not a pirate warrior card. It doesn't seem like a control warrior card. Maybe it is because it gives you an opportunity to shield slam. And lackeys are okay.
Yeah,
lackeys can get you extra brawls.
Yeah, and especially if you're late game, like getting a draconic lackey now. We haven't mentioned it this episode, but that's the new lackey, is a 1-mana 1/1 discover a dragon. You could get a late game dragon that helps you in that circumstance. So, I think that makes the most sense. It's good value.
Probably a 3.
Yeah, I think 3 is probably right. I was higher on this card before we started talking about it.
Yeah, I know.
The more I keep thinking about it, it's like, I don't know. Control Warrior really wants to run this still, though. In Arena, it's probably a 4 because it's getting you a lot of value out of the 1 card. So
that's fair.
The armor isn't a big deal, but the lackey is.
It's not nothing.
Yeah, for sure. Next one here is Sky Raider, 1-mana 1/2 pirate. Battlecry, add a random pirate to your hand. So we used the Pharaoh Cat analogy before, and it will come here again because that's what this is.
And it's also a cheap pirate that you can fire the Sky Barge with. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you get the 1-mana rogue pirate off of this, holy cow!
Yeah, because it can be class pirates too. Yeah, so you can get pirates in your pirates.
Too many pirates. It's 4s across the board. It'll be running Pirate Warrior for sure.
Yeah.
And if you get, Southsea Captain, great. As long as Southsea Captain's a card, I think Pirate Warrior decks have a chance, and we've got enough synergies in this.
Yep.
It could be a thing.
It could be. Or even Ticket Scalper could be fine too, right?
Sure,
getting more draw. There's some decent pirates that just aren't good enough to get into decks, but are still decent cards on their own.
Yeah.
So our last warrior card is Awaken, which is a 3-mana common spell. Invoke Galakrond, deal 1 damage to all minions. So I rated this lower, and then I was thinking about it today. And you know what this card reminds me of? Bloodrazor.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because you're getting the 3 attack, right? So Bloodrazor was a weapon, and it would do 1 damage as a battle cry to the board and 1 damage as a death rattle. Mm-hmm. This is only once, but it's doing 1 damage to the board, and it's giving you +3 attack on your hero. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a Bloodrazor. And if you're playing this deck, you're probably playing things like Bloodsworn Mercenary and Frothing Berserker.
Oh, and those are good. Yeah, that's a good point.
And you're playing Whirlwinds and Warpaths just to proc those anyway. Mm-hmm. So this does that, and it invokes Galakrond in the process, and it lets you remove something that's in the way with your face. Yeah, so that seems pretty good to me.
I was thinking it's kind of like a swipe that you attack with also, because you're dealing 4 to something and you're dealing 1 to everything else. So yeah, I that's a really good point, especially because this deck probably does want that. It's at least a 4 then, if that's the case.
I think it's a 4, yeah.
Yeah. Very solid. All right, on to the neutrals. Let's start here with Shuma, 7-mana 1/7. At the end of your turn, fill your board with 1/1 tentacles. Good lord, that's a lot of tentacles. So, like token strategies, it's great that you have 1 minion that's able to do everything for you. Problem is those 1/1 tentacles are pretty squishy. You do this in Shaman and combine it with Soul of the Murloc, and you're in a better place. Um, I think that there's actually a lot of potential with this because it's able to do so much on its own. Um, but like as long as the deck's not dependent on it, which a token strategy deck has a ton of ways to generate tokens. The fact that this can do it on its own, you just throw it in there, and if you're in a pinch and you top deck it, great. Next turn I get Bloodlust and I'm done, or Savage Roar and I'm done.
And it's going to keep doing it. Like this is the thing that
Oh,
I
that's
think
right.
is
I didn't think
really
about that.
that it's really hard to see when it first happens, but
Mm-hmm.
you're playing this in a token deck.
Mm-hmm.
So any board is scary.
Mm-hmm.
And your opponent is going to both have to remove the 1/7 and the board when they're already using a lot of resources to remove your board anyway. Yeah. I was thinking this in terms of Quest Hunter.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah.
Where right now you're playing Flark.
Oh, good
because
lord,
Flark
this is
five...
insane in Quest Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my
this
gosh.
is nuts so in Quest Hunter. Because in Quest Hunter, you're already challenging them to remove all your boards because any board is a threat. And now you've got a 1/7. And again, 7's a lot of health. And you've got a board. And those boards are going to snowball. And every turn that they don't remove this, it repeats itself and it refills the board. That's in the right deck. That is bananas.
This is a really good card. And 7 health is so much to chew through. Like
it's Brawl
is probably the weakest thing that this is against, but that's that's it. What, Twisting Nether or something, I guess.
I mean anything that's like Plague of Death or something like that is going to be a big deal. But like if you have a strategy that relies on you flooding the board and that being a threat to your opponent, with Bloodlust, with Savage Roar, with Quest Hunter, I think you play this card because it's just like a recurring threat that your opponent needs to deal with, and they need to deal with the board and the big thing all at the same time. That's really hard to do.
I know I've been throwing 5s around.
I don't think it's a 5, but I do think it's a 4.
If it's that hard to remove, though?
Because I think that at the end of the day, it's going to be expensive for those decks to play. And it's going to be awkward, and
that's true.
It's still a bunch of 1/1s. You need to have something else to capitalize on it.
Okay, all right. I'll go with you on 4.
Yeah. But I do think it's a 4.
Arena?
In Arena, this is kind of a problem.
It's
right?
really you're even less likely to have a removal solution. So I feel like it's almost better there. The hard thing is it locks you out of playing other stuff. But if you're top decking, you don't care.
Does it? Does it lock you out of playing other stuff?
Oh, no, because you just trade, don't you?
Because you can trade, because it's putting them at the end of your turn, so those can all attack. Those can also all go face.
Jeez. So this is a 5 in Arena.
I think it's probably... I mean, as far as...
It's got to be
given the other choices you're going to get for legendaries, right? I think it is.
Well, and the way that we rate cards for Arena especially, you have to always think about, is this enough on its own? This card is more than enough on its own, especially for Arena. So I think it has to be a 5 there. Boy, I was not thinking about this card the right way. So be interesting to see how it affects things.
That's why you keep me around.
That's right, man. I appreciate it. This one's you here.
Oh, is this me?
Yeah.
Sathravar is the card that we all got for free after BlizzCon, which is Battlecry, 9-mana 5/5 demon. Battlecry, choose a friendly minion, add a copy of it to your hand, deck, and battlefield. The only things that have really moved the needle on this are a 0-mana a 0-mana Shirvala, or something that was discounted off of a Geppetto Joybuzz, and which is basically meant Druid. And everything else has just kind of been, this has been really awkward because you need to get the minion to stick. In those use cases, it's good, but even then, it's like, it's not amazing.
Because I've played a lot of the OTK Paladin deck with this, and in that deck, it heals you for 21, which is essentially Reno. Like,
right.
For that use case, it's insane. There are many times where you don't need it. There are also many times where it becomes a win condition for you. So But
it's even slower than the 9 mana implies, though, because you have to have drawn it. Yeah. And you have to drawn Shirvala, and Shirvala has to cost 0 or 1.
Yeah, it's definitely late in the game, unless you Prismatic Lens it, and it ends up being cheaper. That happens often too.
Yeah.
It's no less than a 4 for sure. I think.
In the deck that wants it, it's good. It's very situational though.
Yeah. In Arena, I mean, you got a lot of value, so that's good.
In Arena, I mean, do you really want to be like, okay, it has to be a very particular minion that you're hitting with this, right? It probably has to be a taunt. Because if you're paying 9 mana for a 5/5, you probably already won if you can do that without dying, right? So I think in Arena specifically, it's got to be it's probably a 3. I mean, it's again, there are worse legendaries that you can get in a draft, but I think that in general, you got to be getting a lot of value off of this in order to like just have it be worth it. It's like you can draft a 10 mana 10/10 and play that and just die in Arena 2, and it's generally not good enough.
Yeah. I guess I'd go with you on that. So what are you thinking for?
I'm thinking a 3 for that.
Okay.
It's not. I mean, it's not embarrassing like some legendaries are, but it's also not great.
I think there are just times you'll choose it because you're going to get guaranteed value as long as you've got another minion. But it's just not going to necessarily win you the game. It's
right.
Yeah. So 3's fine. And 3 with upside is probably what I would think.
Yep, that's what it is.
Okay, next one here is Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. Holy cow. 9 mana, 8/8 dragon. Battle cry. If your deck has no duplicates, add 2 random dragons to your hand. They cost 0. So a little card named Zephrys came out and changed the face of Highlander decks, because what we could not have seen back in that time, no matter how high we could have been on Zephrys, was that it would be enough to create archetypes where there are no other Highlander cards. Now we've got one more neutral card here that I'm going to argue pretty much does the same. Especially if you're already playing Zephrys, why don't you want 2 free dragons that might synergize with each other, might even get you another Dragon Queen Alexstrasza? I mean, those are nutty examples, but I think that pretty much no matter what you get, other than like 2 fairy dragons, which might happen, is going to be impactful and give you some more stuff to do.
Yeah, I mean, what would you say the average stats on a dragon are? Like 7/7?
Somewhere around
that
there.
Right?
I was gonna say like 6/7 or something. Yeah.
It's like, okay, so let's say it's 6/7. Let's even go a little bit lower than that, right? So then this is well, see, now you're making me do more complicated math, but
do the 7/7 like, then, because that's probably
so it's
accurate.
Like no, so it's like 6/7 is going to be like 2022 worth of stats for 9 mana.
So
and you
crazy.
Don't need to play it all that turn if you don't want to.
Right.
Like if there are battle cry dragons, you can save them for when they're valuable. So it's like, yeah, you're gonna low roll sometimes, but like we play King Ferris in certain decks because it does that. We play that in Highlander Mage. We play that in Quest Druid because it does that. You play, I mean, Nomi's more stats than that, but you have to wait until basically the deck is gone to get that. So, like, if you think about it, like you're getting like a 20/20 worth of stats for 9 mana, yeah, you play that card. You play that card all day.
And by the way, there are plenty of dragons in this set that have a battle cry that lets you discover a dragon.
Yeah.
Like
or do other things like Twin Tyrant that does like 4 damage to two targets. You know, like there's a lot of dragons that can do things other than just be butts on the board.
You're just going to slam this in any Highlander deck. Like, if you're playing dragons, great, but if you're not, you just don't care. It's really, really strong. I think it's an easy 5 in Standard. In Arena, you've got to be careful.
It's going to be draft dependent.
You probably still take it as long as you haven't taken too many duplicates, right?
Maybe. I mean, it's going to be late that you play it, but I mean, a vanilla 9 mana 8/8 is not good enough in Arena.
I'd go down to a 4.
So... yeah, I think it would be a 4. I think you probably... I mean, it's still better than a lot of legendaries because it's just stats on a stick, which is better than a lot of legendaries in Arena.
Right.
So for that reason, it's probably better than a 3, which would be a 4, but it's not a 5.
Yeah, 4 is perfectly fair.
All right. Kronk's Dragonhoof is a 6 mana 6/6 battle cry. Draw Galakrond. If you're already Galakrond, unleash a devastation. And those are actually in the patch notes, so I actually still have that open, so I can bring that up.
Oh, I actually do too.
Yeah. So the 4 devastations they're all 0 mana spells, which means that you can play them that turn, but you don't have to. Annihilation does 5 damage to all other minions. Domination gives all your minions +2/+2, except for him. Decimation does 5 damage to the enemy hero and restores 5 health to your hero. And Reanimation summons an 8/8 dragon with taunt. So this basically reminds me of oh gosh, I'm so bad with card names tonight. The elemental dude.
8 mana 7/7.
Yeah.
The battle cry.
Calamos.
Yeah, Calamos. Primal Lord. Yep.
Yeah, because you get to choose which one of these. They're all good. They all have different situational uses.
Mm-hmm.
You probably want to draw Galakron before you draw this, but you don't have to. It could work out that you just need to get Galakroned out, and that's fine too. Or you can wait. Either way.
That's the question in my mind has been: are you just going to play this card so that you can get the devastation? Is that what you're really hoping for? Because these cards are so good. I think that you play this card hoping to do that, but you'll take it to tutor out Galakron if you have to, because you're at a point where you've invoked enough or you need the upside pretty quickly of the battle cry.
Yeah. I mean, keep in mind, there's one thing that I don't think a lot of people are noticing on this card. You have to have actually played Galakron. It's not good enough that you've drawn it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that can be kind of slow. Like, if you're Priest, you may really want to draw Galakron.
Mm-hmm.
You may just want that as a clear.
Yeah.
Right? If you're Warlock, you probably would rather have drawn it first. But then this is even slower than that, right? So I don't know, but I don't know what the right way is to approach a card like this. But I think that if you're playing Galakron, you're relying on getting that card out, and you really want to get that battle cry off, so you're going to play this. And ideally, you'd rather get the devastation, but you may also just need the battle cry. And either way, it doesn't matter. You're going to get to choose when you're playing the card because you're playing it in that deck.
I think the cool thing is, like, it reminds me of the cards in Whispers, or there was one card in Whispers of the Old God that at the end of your turn would draw a 10 mana creature from your deck. And that was just so bad. And like this having an answer for when you've already played Galakron is, and the fact that I'm thinking, do I just want that thing instead?
Right.
This is a solid card, and this is probably the one that most people are going to be tempted to craft on day one because you've already got all the Galakrons. I'm gonna temper and caution you with that. I'm never gonna tell you what to do necessarily. Maybe I will. I don't know. But I don't know that this is a guaranteed going to be included in every Galakron deck necessarily. The fact that it's neutral, the fact that you've got all 5 already, this is probably the safest one to craft because it'll fit into a lot of different decks. But I'm not convinced that this is for sure going to be a staple. I think some people would probably think that and may be mistaken. I don't know if maybe it will be a standard, but
I mean, let me ask you this, right? Is this worse than Twin Emperor Veclor?
No,
because that was pretty.
Yeah, I mean, that was in all Cthulhu decks. Yeah,
that was dependent on Cthulhu being a thing,
right?
But that was in every Cthulhu deck. So if Galakron's going to be a thing, and Galakron's the closest thing we've had to Cthulhu in a long time.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I'm not I'm not recommending you craft this either. I think you give it a couple of weeks to see if Galakron is good enough.
You're saying there's definitely
but I imagine one of those decks is going to hit, and you're probably going to want this in it.
So I would probably say it's a 4.
I think so too.
Could even be better potentially. I think if Zephyrus was the easy like day one craft, this is probably the easy that set. This is probably the one for this one. But
it's kind of like the Ziliax of this set too, if you think of it that way.
If there's anything of you that's thinking I'm not so sure about this, listen to that and just hold off for a little bit so that the meta settles. And if you get it from a pack, great, enjoy it.
In general, you should be waiting until like the first Vicious Syndicate report comes out before you craft anything. That's anyway.
True. Yeah.
If you are concerned with your dust total, if you are swimming in dust, via con Dios.
Go for it. And finally, we've got Frizz Kindle Roost. 4 mana, 5/4. Battle Cry. Reduce the cost of dragons in your deck by 2 mana.
What?
I'm still thinking this is insane. And Steve, I want to hear any kind of argument you have for why this is not insane.
Okay, I think this is really broken, but in specific circumstances. So the
like
thing
when it's
is
played, is that the specific circumstance?
When it's played and you have dragons, no. Like in general, right? This is very slow.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Because it does nothing the turn that you play it.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you incremental value. Like if you think about like a Pocket Galaxy, and this is not Pocket Galaxy.
No.
Pocket Galaxy was good because it was reducing everything to 1, and then you had ways to get those cards out of your hand and play them all in succession. This is going to make your dragons cheaper. Your dragons are already expensive. There's going to be a limit to how many you can play. There's also going to be a limit to how many you can draw. You're going to be able to get those out earlier if you have a lot of heavy dragons that can help you, but it's not like you're just going to be able to like spam crap onto the board like Pocket Galaxy, Highlander Mage, or Cyclone Mage could do, right? The exception to that, and I keep saying this and nobody believes me, but I'm just putting this out there in case I'm right. Warlock with Plot Twist is the exception to that.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Because a Warlock, a Handlock is going to be playing dragons.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably playing Plot Twist. And if you play this and then you Plot Twist, you're now all of a sudden cycling 10 cards in, many of which will be dragons, that you will all be discounted, and then you can have a big tempo turn all at once. Yeah. That's the case where I think this might be broken good. In general, it's going to be a lot slower than I think a lot of people realize. It's going to help. It's going to help get those things online sooner. Mm-hmm. But you can't rely on, like, say, building a Malagos OTK around this, because if you draw Malagos first, you're sunk. Right. So that's kind of where I'm at with this card. I think it's very good. In certain decks, it'll be great. Across the board, I think it's a lot less scary than people think it is.
I'll go with you on that. And especially when you mentioned that it doesn't do anything the turn you play it, I was like, oh yeah, those cards tend to not be great. There was also a card called Mistcaller that like really did nothing.
Right.
So yeah, the Plot Twist one is scary because that's the example where you immediately get those really low cost dragons. And I mean any other, well, I guess like if you're doing a Miracle Dragon deck with Rogue, and you can quickly get several minions, like those will combo.
But how many dragons are you running in that deck? Is the problem.
I mean, you've got infinite Waxadreads, but they don't get discounted; they just get played straight up. So,
the Waxadreads. I mean, you only get one of those, and then the rest of those are just candles. So.
Well, unless you Togwaggle Scheme, and then they all become 3 mana 7/5. Yeah. So, I think there's a lot of implications. Maybe it's not quite as scary as people are thinking. I think I would give it a 4.
Yeah, I think it's probably a 4. I think it's still good. I think the fact that it's fairly statted should be your clue that it's not as strong as it looks. Yeah. Because if it was really this broken, this would be like a 2/2.
Sure.
Right? Sure. Like if you think about the kind of really broken cards, like you think about like Dragon Hatcher, right? Dragon Hatcher was a 9 mana 2/4. Mm-hmm. Or like Dino Tamer Brand is a 7 mana 2/4. Right. This is a 4 mana 5/4, which means and people are making a big deal about that, like, oh, how could they make this, such good tempo? You'll just play this. Well, no, you won't, unless it's really good, because it still costs you a draw on your deck, and you're not playing Chillwind Yeti. Yeah. Right? Like, Chillwind Yeti's a 4/5. You're not just throwing Chillwind Yetis in your deck, because you would generally rather have literally anything else. So that's why the fact that it's fairly statted should be a clue that it is actually fairer than it looks. And again, I'll go back to our maxim, one of kind of our guiding principles for evaluating cards, that the cards that look broken often aren't, because they've been tested within an inch of their lives.
Right. Yeah, I think 4 is about right. In Arena, I mean, it's a 4 mana 5/4. If you have any dragons, they get discounted, but it's probably more like a 3 there.
I mean, you'll take it because it's better. It's a 4 mana 5/4 is better than a lot of legendaries, right? Yeah. I mean, I feel like we said that a lot tonight, but there's a lot of legendaries that aren't in this set review that you're going to get offered.
Yeah. But that's a classic definition of a 3 in my book.
Yeah, I agree.
It's fine. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think, Steve, that there is one remaining card, and it wouldn't be an episode of Happy Hearthstone unless we brought it in. I mean, this is 9 iterations now that you've had to prepare and get ready for the card of the week. So
I know.
I know that anyone...
I was very not prepared the first time that we did that, by the way. And I do not often sing in public, especially not after talking for 3 hours.
Well, I'm honored that you continue to submit yourself to the insane honor that it is to welcome in a card of the week. So whenever you're ready, man.
And I don't want to build this up too much, but I do feel like I might have outdone myself this time.
Whoa, okay, all right, I'm ready.
And I have, as usual, brought along the Wicked Good Symphony Orchestra to provide background music.
All right.
Because I want to make sure to do this song justice.
Okay.
Because, a classic like this, we can't just have without any background music. So, anyway. So here we go. Without any further ado. Oh, baby, baby, how was I supposed to know that tapping wasn't right here? Oh, baby, baby, I shouldn't have played so slow. And now I'm out of hand size. Show me how big my hand could be. Tell me, baby, 'cause I need to draw hellfire now. My hand's a mess and it's killing me, but I must confess, I still believe that Veldris Belgord can be my star. He can't be that far. Give me, baby, 2 more cards.
That is certainly a classic, and that will be a classic card of the week for sure.
I that might be it. You might be done with me singing. I don't know if I can ever top that. This was another level. This was quite a shower moment that I had coming up with this. So.
I didn't think you could outdo yourself, but you certainly did. Tell us about Valdris Felgorge.
So Valdris Felgorge is a warlock legendary, and I have to scroll back up to get to him. So Valdris Felgorge is a 7-mana 4/4 warlock legendary battle cry. Increase your maximum hand size to 12 and draw 4 cards. So this is one of those cards that I don't know if it's good, and I don't know if it's going to see play, but I love that they're trying it, right? Because, like, this is something that, like, and one of the themes of this year, this whole year, all 3 sets, is going back to a lot of mechanics that we've seen before and taking different takes on them, right? Like, we've seen a lot of, like, we spent a lot of time talking about Cthulhu tonight in relation to Galakron.
Right.
And, like, a lot of these things are kind of like throwback mechanics. This is something that nobody expected. Like, the hand size maximum of 10 has always been kind of it's been there, right? Like, we've never considered what would it be like if you could have more than 10 accounts.
Sure, yeah.
And so something like this that can change the rest of the game for you in a way that's not Dark Pharaoh Tikkun. And, you know, and then also give you 4 cards to, you know, take advantage of all that extra room that you have. You're going to the, you know, the even more legroom seat of your hand size. Even more hand room, I guess. I don't know.
But I see what you did there.
Like, again, we got handlock cards in this set, right? We got a card that's going to give us a taunt based on hand size. We got a card that's going to do a board clear based on hand size. You've got Mountain Giant. You've got Twilight Drake. There are ways to take advantage of this. And, like, a 1-mana Mountain Giant is kind of scary. You know, there are ways that you can take advantage of that hand size, and even just like a control deck having that much more room to work with is a big deal.
Is it really going to change things? Has been my big problem. Like, obviously it's even better for handlock, for Mountain Giant discounts and stuff like that. But are you going to be at that place where you have, I guess, no more than 8 cards in hand? Well, and you'd have to combo something on top of this, I guess, if you did that.
I mean, I don't know, right? Like, I don't know if this is good. Like, I'm not saying that this is a good card. I say this is an interesting card. I don't know if this is good. It may be that if you can play a 7-mana 4/4 and draw 4 cards, you probably didn't need to play this in the first place, right?
Sure.
Like, you're playing a vanilla 4/4, a vanilla 7-mana 4/4.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not going to be able to play any of those cards that you're drawing that turn, probably, or maybe a couple of them. And did you really need that in the first place? Probably not. This may not be a card that sees play a lot, but I love that they're trying it.
Oh, totally.
Right?
Yep.
And it may be that this isn't the card that does it, but then we get like a 5-mana 5/5 in a couple of sets down the road, right? Like, there have been a couple of times where we've seen some of these like 7-mana 4/4 types of things that were not good enough in that incarnation, and then they tried it and saw that it was not as scary as they thought, and then they come back around to it.
Yeah, just the fact that we're able to break the rules now. Are there other cards that have broken the rules? Like, I guess Mayor Noggenfogger kind of did, but that was more like a light break of rules.
I mean, you have like the Violet Illusionist that allowed you to not take damage on your turn, so you could, you know, not fatigue.
Uh-huh.
Some people built the Cold Light Oracle decks around. stuff like that.
You know what the first card was, and this is a total coincidence. It's a Mara from the original Quest Priest.
Oh, yeah.
Which, as luck would have it, my friend Ignatius just raided the chat, and Ignatius was on the show. He was one of my very first co-hosts on the Happy Hearthstone, and Amara was his card of the week. So that's pretty funny.
Because that raised your health total to 40.
Yeah. So I totally agree with you that I think it's fun that they're doing stuff like that. I'd love to see more instances of that. And I mean, just the fact that this is Sprint on a stick is pretty tempting. Like drawing 4 cards and having a 4/4 body is insane. So I think the card's at least a 4.
I want it to be good. I don't know if it will be, but I want it to be good.
That's where I'm at too. We're definitely going to test this day one and for a while, but it's like I don't know if this is actually going to make the cut because it gives you more cards. But Handlock's done fine with 10 cards as a max for a really long time. So, yeah, I think a 4 is probably the right place to land on this one.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, like, even Warlock, how that changed the game with being able to tap out, like, a Mountain Giant early. Like, this is going to be... It's not quite that, because it's not going to be quite as aggressive, but, it's something that... It changes the way that you play, and I like that they're trying risky things.
Yes,
like, this
absolutely.
Is... risky things that are not bringing Evolve back into the meta. Not that I'm bitter.
And in Arena, I mean, just the fact that you can draw that many cards is probably good.
Yeah, I mean, again,
probably a 4
like
there
we've said
too.
this a lot.
Yeah.
We've said this a lot tonight. This is going to be better than your average legendary.
That is the
right?
standard evaluation for legendary cards in Arena is this better than all the other crap? Yeah, it is. It's fine.
Yeah.
It'll probably be a 4 there. So
yeah, I mean, we are not like the bar for legendaries in Arena is not high.
No, yeah.
Because I mean, there's a lot of bad legendaries. So if this is even mildly playable, then it's probably okay compared to what else you're going to be up against.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
all
with
right.
that actually takes us all the way. And Steve, like we're within the 3 hour. Like,
did we do it?
I don't know what this is. This is some insane thing. I mean, honestly, we recorded this too on a weekday where we both kind of needed to be vigilant, I suppose. But we made it through all the.
But we've done that before, and it hasn't mattered.
It's true. I don't know, man. Maybe we're getting crazy. I mean, the fact that there's so many.
You know what I think it is. Not to extend the length of this episode too much, but I think that it's a lot of these cards are just kind of like objectively powerful.
Right.
Whereas we had to argue a lot in the past about things that looked like they're powerful and weren't, or didn't look like they're powerful and were. And I think a lot of these just kind of are objectively powerful, and it's not as much of a debate there, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we had some things where, okay, well, we meet in the middle, but we weren't that far apart either. Like, we didn't have a Glacial Mysteries discussion too much. I mean, even when we did around something like Awaken, right? Like, we were able to come to the same place pretty quickly, whereas that's not always been the case in some of these past sets.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Not to raise old wounds or anything.
No. It's fine. We've both had them. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting too going through the League of Explorers cards, because though they did not get a Galakron, they got some wildly powerful cards too. We got mini dragons and side quests and all sorts of stuff. So there's plenty on the way there. And I did mention real quick that Ignatius rated the chat, and so did our friends at Coin Concede. And I just want to say a sincere thank you to all of us joining us on the live stream now. If you're listening to the recorded version, be sure that you're following myself and Steve on Twitter at Andrew's Living and Wicked Good, respectfully. We'll let you know when we're live streaming the second half, where we go through all of the League of Explorers cards, as well as the neutral epics, rares, and commons. Usually those ones don't get much talk anyway, so this will be fun. But yeah, that's really all we've got for this show. I want to remind you, as we do in every episode, that you are the Happy Hearthstone. Like, the thing that makes this podcast so fun is the fact that we've got a thriving community. We got people from all over the world listening in who love this game and want to connect with each other. So if you're listening for the first time, or if you've been listening for a while and haven't taken the time to reach out, please do. If you've got ideas for future episodes, or you'd like to join me as a co-host for an episode, you can shoot me an email at thehappyhearthstone@gmail.com or reach out on Twitter at AndrewIsLiving. You can also join our Discord community if you want to find people to play games, share deck lists with. Just go to thehappyhearthstone.com/Discord and click on the link on that page. Those are the big ways. You can support the show by leaving an iTunes review. That is a huge way that you can help things out permanently. So just go over on Apple Podcasts or iTunes and tell people what you like about the show. You can also check out patreon.com/thehappyhearthstone and support the show and get some great perks in return, like exclusive content, coaching sessions, and more. And I have to send a huge thank you, as always, to the producers of The Happy Hearthstone, Menok, Jay Miller, and Number Theory. Thank you three so much for supporting the show at the level that you do. I'm looking forward to some coaching sessions and a lot of dragons, because that's what we do, okay? That's going to be a lot of fun. I think that's all of the shout-outs I can give. Until we return and have all these dragons circling overhead once more, Steve, how can people stay in touch with you?
So the best way to find everything I'm doing is go to offcurve.com. That's where you can find the podcast. You can find the data visualizations that I do for the Masters Tour qualifiers and a bunch of other stuff. You can also follow me on Twitter. I am at Wicked Good. You can, if you're already following Andrew, you can see Andrew and my wife ganging up on me when I have reviews of cards that they don't agree with, which is always fun. And
mostly based on the cuteness of a card.
Well, I mean, that's fair.
Or
but
I'm
usually the one who's going all in on the cuteness of a card.
That's true. That's really fair.
Yeah, and you can also follow, join. I have a Discord at discord.offcurve.com, and also you can follow me on Twitch. You just go to twitch.offcurve.com, and my wife usually joins me the night of the set release. Normally
that's right.
Our tradition, because she plays as well, so our tradition is that we basically wait until that night when we stream together and then open up all our packs together on stream. So I am hoping that we're going to be able to do that again. And you should also subscribe to Off Curve, because I will. My goal is to have a theory crafting extravaganza the day before the set releases.
Nice.
Usually I record that on my way home from work the night before the set releases, so you can have that to listen to on your way in Tuesday morning to get hyped for the release.
So that should be live then. If you're listening to the recorded version of this, you can hop over to Off Curve and find several deck lists that you want to play.
Yeah. So if you're like a long haul truck driver and you've already listened to this and you've gotten to the end of this and it's not yet time to open up all your packs, you can listen to me tell you what decks you can build.
Yeah, there you go. Very good. And if you want to check out any of the scores from this episode, you can go over to the show notes at thehappyhearthstone.com and check them out there. Steve, thanks so much for joining me for our evil take on some crazy dragons, and it'll be good to be the good guys once more next week.
I mean, we'll be the good guys because we're gonna have Tyrande and we're all gonna be playing Priest, right?
I was gonna say,
good guy.
You're the good guy when you're playing Priest, I know, but yeah, we'll see if we can.
I also rooted for Cobra Kai, so do what you will.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you, Steve, so much for being a part of this as always, and thank you so much for visiting the Happy Hearthstone and having a little fun with us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.